I guess continue would be the right choice here. The Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro. Episode 2. Alright, let's do it.
It was a ghastly tale of a winter's night. One of an invisible killer and a crime perpetrated on the pavement along Briar Road. As the victim lay at death's door, the mystery of just who had stabbed the young lady from behind had been resolved. But no sooner had my friend saved that Eastern Exchange student from his harrowing plight, then in the dim, flickering shadows of gaslight did a second bizarre crime rend the stillness of that very night. I dare say most can still recall the sensational headlines of the day. Haunted apartment of death, the condemned criminal's curse, the dread demon of coal gas. Yet, though the great detective had at once discerned the truth upon his arrival at the scene, it only proved to be the overture that announced the rising of the curtain on a most tragic play.
That means more shit about to go down. Alright. Back at this. I know it's been a while. I apologize for anyone that might be watching this part. But work has been just crazy recently, and I've also taken up some extracurricular activities, so it's hard to get time to stream these days, especially this week. I'm gonna have to change my schedule to like Monday and Wednesdays, but yeah, I'm gonna hope to get some more time in the upcoming weeks. But for now, it's Wednesday, it's 9, I'm probably going to go later than usual for this one, but I wanted to play some more of this because I'm interested to see where it's going. After the last trial we did, I am super curious to see what the hell was going on with Jezebel. I don't think that was her name, but, you know, the snooty British woman who was in Japan, who killed Dr. Watson. In game it says Wilson. We know it's Watson. I'm just going to go with Watson. I don't freaking care. And Dr. Watson was invited to Japan by what's-his-face, Monopoly, Monatoba, I don't know. But either way, seems interesting. But yeah, I was able to get some of my extra work done today and actually get out there and participate in this. So, yeah. Hey, that guy, how you doing? How's your week been so far? How's your day? How's your everything, sir? Sea of Thieves update is tomorrow. I am very hyped about it. I bet you are. This is the one where, if I read the articles correctly, this is the one where they let you technically own your own ship, right? So I'm assuming there's going to be like a lot of ship customization stuff that come with it, but bad stuff aside, good? Well, good. I'm glad you're at least doing good. I'm sorry there's some bad stuff going on. We all can relate to that, but I'm glad that you are persevering, my friend. I also have some bad stuff going on. Mostly work, but also my new machine for sleep apnea is causing my face to break out a lot more than usual. So that's why I'm not using my webcam, because I look like shit. So, yeah. But this is a visual novel game anyway, so you don't need to see my face. I just have to do all the voices right, but we'll see. Captaincy and a bunch of high quality of life stuff. Good, cool. Honestly, still waiting to drag your ass back to the sea. I know, I apologize, and I just... especially this week, it's been chaotic, but like I was saying a second ago, I don't know if you heard, but I am doing a lot of extracurricular stuff, so like the only days I have to really stream and play games is Monday and Wednesday. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are usually all busy, so my schedule is just super packed. But yeah, I hope this new update brings you, like, all the stuff you've been hoping for. Anyway, I'm going to try to get started with this. So, my name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I'm a fledgling lawyer just starting out on my journey. 6 months ago, I arrived as a visiting student of law, having made this long voyage across the sea from the Empire of Japan to here, London, England. And on the way, in quite extraordinary circumstances, I made the acquaintance of a world-famous detective. Currently, I reside in the attic of the detective's own lodgings, from where I run my legal consultancy of sorts. I've successfully defended a number of clients in Britain's highest court, the Old Bailey. But since a particularly grueling and unforgettable legal battle 4 months ago now, I haven't returned to the courtroom. In truth, I lost my right to return. But that epic trial was just one small part of an epic tale. A tale which was now about to awaken from slumber, thanks to a letter that arrived this morning from my homeland. I didn't have to voice act that one. Isn't that good? I'm gonna do it anyway. Rumble! Alright, just say when and I'll be showing where the fun resides. Okay. Fair enough. If I ever come across a day where I'm just not doing anything, I will hit you up on Steam and we'll go do that. What a delicious smell wafting up the stairs. It must be nearly time for breakfast. I'd better go down to Mr. Sholmes' suite and say good morning to the great detective and his flatmate. I thought I was going to have to move. Okay, guess not. 30th August, 7:28 a.m. Sholmes' suite. I forgot what voice I did for her a year ago, so at this point, I can pretty much just kind of give her whatever I want. I might give her the silly voice from last time. The one that I kind of, like, stole from Aaron at Game Grumps. Just the really silly female voice. 'Cause I really like it. It's ridiculous. It's great for jokes. It's fucking great. I just gotta remember how it goes. Slurp. That's the one. Did I get that right? Sorry, 1 second. Oh, Reno, good! I was just about to call up to you. The bacon's ready. Good morning, Iris. It smells delicious as usual. Before we eat, though, I have some news. I had a surprise this morning. Shh! Not another word, Mr. Naruhodo. This could be just the abstruse thing for my pre-breakfast stagnation repelling mental stimulation, my dear fellow. Morning to you too, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, yes, I see. So that's it. Wow, he got real fucking close to me. We gonna kiss? I'm down for kisses. The truth is as clear to me as day. My faculties of observation have revealed it again. What are you talking about? You, Mr. Naruhodo, you have, this very morning, met with a surprise. Well, is that not the case? Really, my dear fellow, it barely warrants explanation. Firstly, your hair is particularly unkempt, somewhat reminiscent of a bird's nest. Secondly, you have neglected to fasten the third button of your jacket. Clearly, when considered together, these two facts point to you having been flustered this morning. Can I talk now? But of course, though I don't look for admiration, you understand. He looks for admiration, guys. He really thrives on it. My hair always looks like this. It's been this way since I first met you. Oh, it has? And the button was ripped off last night, if you remember. By you.
Hurley pulled your button off?
Ah, yes, I recall the incident now. It was after supper, was it not? As the evening advanced, I picked up my violin and began to play the wailing notes of a haunting tune. But then, to my utter dismay, the third string snapped. Why did it have to happen? Why? Little wonder, then, that in my vexation I grabbed the first button I saw and ripped it from its proper place. Well, I'd like it back now, please. It's troubling me that I can't fasten my jacket. And it's troubling me that you expect me to know where it is. Somewhere thereabouts on the floor, one presumes. Helpful. What matters at the present time, my dear fellow, is simply whether or not my deduction was unerring.
But Hurley, Rudo said it when he came in, didn't he? I had a surprise this morning.
Well, that really is a surprise. Yes, this man is the pride of the British Empire, the famous consulting detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. There can't be a single person in the world who doesn't know his name.
Alright, Dan, enough of this silly conversation. Go and eat this bacon before it gets cold. And I have a new herbal tea for you to try, too. My latest special blend.
And here we have Iris Wilson, Mr. Sholmes' lodger and companion. A truly exceptional young girl who's the author of a highly successful serialization here in London. Yes, The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, as published in Ranced magazine. So, Mr. Naruhodo, won't you put us out of our misery? What surprised you this fine morning? Well, I received a letter from Japan.
Oh, from Susie, you mean? Was it really?
That's right, and she had some rather startling news, in fact. Ah, intriguing indeed. You must tell us all about it over breakfast.
Oh yes, what fun!
Oh, now I get to do stuff. Cool. Okay. I'm not gonna bother examining right now. But what's the court record look like so far? Just my armband, an armband I inherited from Cosmo. Blah, 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 shutting down. It identifies the wearer as a defense lawyer throughout the Empire of Japan. Let's examine it. What's this?
Oh, so you use scale balances in Japan too, do you?
Well, yes, but nothing like the old Bailey's huge example.
The thing about those scales is they're only ever in balance right at the start of a trial, aren't they? Otherwise, they always seem to be hanging one way or another.
I'd noticed that exact same thing. Cool, I'm glad you noticed it, Naruhodo. What's this? Say Kazuma? Yep, Kazuma Sogi.
Ooh, is this Japanese kanji script embroidered here?
That's right, the name of the armband's owner.
Ah, so that's how you write Naruhodo, is it?
Actually, no, it's my best friend's name, not mine. It's pronounced Kazuma Asogi. I actually believe this armband in some way embodies his spirit, you see.
So you have to write all those lines just for one person's name? Kanji's funny, isn't it?
Not as funny as your face, Cyrus. I mean, that's right. Never mind my feelings about my best friend. It's lines I really want to talk about. She's a kid. She ain't gonna talk about the lines. There's nothing else here. Okay, cool. If that becomes important in the case in the future, I'm gonna be astounded. Also kind of impressed, but let's converse about Miss Susato's letter. This is the letter that arrived from Japan this morning, by international post.
Oh, how lovely! Look at Susie's beautiful writing. I wish I could read it.
And how is your judicial assistant faring, may I ask? She's very well, thank you. In fact, according to what she's written, she actually appeared as a lawyer at the Japanese Supreme Court and won a case.
Really? Oh, isn't she wonderful?
A cut above your good self, my dear fellow. I've won cases too, you know. Apparently, Mr. Natsume appeared in the trial as a witness. Natsume. No, I don't recall that name. Of course you do. We helped the man twice. You know, in those 2 cases that took place on Briar Road 6 months ago. Oh, the mustache twitchy man with the somewhat feline eyes and the mustache.
He didn't have 2 mustaches, Hurley.
Yes, who could forget those 2 cases? They made a very deep impression on me. Except for you, you forgot it like a second ago. Come on. Although I must confess, the details are a little hazy now. A very deep impression they made on you, clearly. Startling news! Let's hear it. Give me the bad first. So, what was this startling news penned by Miss Susato? Do you remember the case of the haunted lodgings, Mr. Sholmes? Ah, yes, it's very interesting, you know. I don't feel entirely uncertain that a case of that nature did not occur. He's totally forgotten then. Anyway, in her letter, Miss Susato asked that we read over her case notes again and investigate further. Though it took place half a year ago, for what purpose? Because of something that Mr. Natsume said to her, apparently. He suggested that the real reason why she was called back to Japan so suddenly might have something to do with that case of the haunted lodgings. Oh. On Mr. Natsume's return to Japan, Miss Susato's father questioned him about the case, she says. And something Mr. Natsume said appeared to trouble Professor Mikotoba. That's his name, not Monopoly. Or Motorola. It was Mikotoba. Prompting him to send the telegram.
Oh! That case, yes! It was very strange, wasn't it?
Yes.
And I had compiled the whole story into a nice, neat manuscript, ready for publication, too. But then Hurley here was all funny about it. Remember? He was very mean. That story must not be published, you said. Very mysteriously as well.
Really? I said that. Are you sure? Do you perhaps know something about it as well, Mr. Sholmes? About why Miss Susato was suddenly told 4 months ago that she had to return to Japan?
It's been 4 months now since we waved Susie off at Dover. It was such a shock, wasn't it? The way she just suddenly announced that she had to go back to Japan.
Indeed it was, due to a telegram she received from her homeland, I believe. That's right, telling her to return urgently. Yes, because her father had passed away. No. It just said he was suffering from a high fever, the cause of which was unknown. He's not dead. But according to this letter, that news about her father's fever was just a ruse.
A ruse? So Susie's daddy lied to her so that she'd make the voyage back home? Why would he do that?
I have to admit, I have absolutely no idea. But she believes it's almost certainly related to the case of the haunted lodgings. Summoning her back to Japan so suddenly like that, I wonder what Miss Susato's father is hiding.
Hurley, do you know what it's all about?
Well, I can't talk like her. Ah, and he's dressed up now. Perfect. Ah, well, who can say? What? But you said... Please, I have engagements, my dear fellow. My calendar is quite surprisingly full today. And a stringent analysis of the matter would be excessive, I feel, even if I were quite at leisure. So, man the fault in my absence, won't you, Iris?
I will, Hurley, don't worry. See you later.
Am I not going with him? Oh, he scuttled off rather quickly there. Cool, I guess. I think perhaps Professor Mikotoba isn't the only person hiding something here. You don't say. Come on. So Seki-san was involved in 2 cases, but only one of them was forbidden from being published. By, of all people, Mr. Sholmes.
Aha! I found them at last.
Iris, are they?
The notes about the case! That's right! Susie and I compiled them together! The case of the haunted lodgings. Do you want to read them, Runo?
Absolutely. Thank you, Iris. I have no idea what secrets could still be hiding in the shadows of this case. Perhaps if I read over the notes again, something might come to light.
That's the spirit!
So, Iris and I decided to read over the case notes again together. Everything from what happened to our investigation and that fierce battle in court that followed. Reliving every detail. I just need to find a clue, and I have all the time in the world. Because, of course, I'm no longer allowed to practice law in the courts of Great Britain. Alright, time to travel back in time. It was 6 months ago, a mysterious incident that unfolded on the wintry streets of London. A young woman was found lying on the snowy pavement of Briar Road with a knife in her back. Fortunately, her life was spared, but she was unconscious for several days following the incident. The fog was thick, and nobody saw her attack her, but, by a cruel twist of fate, a visiting Japanese student was walking behind her at the time and was duly arrested. That man was Soseki-san, and the man who effected his arrest was Mr. Sholmes. Believing in our compatriot's innocence, Susato-san and I decided to represent Soseki-san in court. And after a grueling trial of many twists and turns, we finally managed to prove his innocence. Joyful, joyous, jubilant jubilation was the man's reaction after the trial, but his jubilant jubilation was short-lived. We received a telegram from Mr. Sholmes the following morning. Why would he deliver a telegram when I live upstairs from him? Could he not come upstairs and tell me? The victim of the Briar Road stabbing has regained consciousness. Hurry to Bart's at once. So Susato-san and I summoned a hansom. The fuck is a hansom? Summoned a hansom. I assume it's old-fashioned cab, I don't know, and headed immediately to the hospital. February 21st, 5:30 a.m., St. Bartholomew's Hospital, Recovery Ward. Lots of shit on that counter. There you are at last. Good morning, Mr. Sholmes. I think not. Oh, I gotta do her voice too? Fuck. What did I do? Just kind of a higher, like, oh! There we go. That works. I'm not gonna remember that, but it works. You're late. What on earth took you so long?
Your telegram only arrived at 5 o'clock, Mr. Sholmes, and it's a 20-minute ride to the hospital.
That's right, and it's 5:30 now. I think we made very good time. The time is utterly irrelevant. The fact is I have been waiting for what has felt like an eternity. In point of fact, I myself was awoken at 4 this morning by a telegram boy. And feeling it was somewhat unjust that I alone had been roused at such an hour, I sent one to you. Well, thanks for that, you asshole. I only wanted to sleep in tonight! Anyway, you're here now, so the victim is over there. She's only just regained consciousness. Oh, it's the roly-poly lady. You should introduce yourselves, and I shall observe from here. Observe from here. Exactly. So that's the lady who was found on the snow-covered pavement with the knife in her back.
Her name is... Oh yes, here we are. Miss Green.
I can't converse with her, apparently. I'd probably have to examine her. Well, let's examine, I guess. I want to look at this fucking Buddha-looking thing. What the hell is that? This rounded wooden figure isn't the most charming, is it?
Ah, I don't think that's a decoration, Mr. Naruhodo. It's an artist's mannequin, I believe, used when practicing sketching the human form in different poses.
Really? It's not exactly what you'd call a typical figure for that purpose, though, is it?
No, I suppose not. I confess I've never seen one quite so full-figured before.
Well, if you want to draw a full-figured person, it's the right tool for the job. That was what I was thinking when she said the thing that I was thinking. What's this? Look, there's a photograph in this frame here.
Oh yes, it's a picture of a young gentleman.
He looks to be about the same age as Miss Green, I would say. Perhaps the young woman's special someone, do you think?
My, Mr. Naruhodo, I didn't know you had a sense for matters of the heart.
Not in the least. I sincerely said the first thing I thought of. Get it? He doesn't like love. There's a rat!
Eek, a mouse, Mr. Naruhodo, an enormous mouse!
Vermin in a hospital. That doesn't seem the best.
But it looks like a very healthy specimen, doesn't it? It's very plump.
I'm not sure we can say that's down to the excellence of this facility, if that's what you were thinking. What's in the bag?
That must be a bag of Miss Green's personal belongings.
She would have been brought directly here after she was found stabbed on the pavement, though.
I expect a friend or family member probably brought some things for her.
Alright then, let's see what's inside. A change of clothes, no doubt, and...
No, Mr. Naruhodo, you must never scrutinize a young maiden's personal belongings.
But the young maiden might have chocolates, or biscuits, or caramel. What's in the chart? I want to see the chart. Ah, this looks like the patient's treatment notes. Let's see. Do not feed. That seems rude. I'm not gonna lie. What is this place, a zoo?
You know, I seem to remember seeing an almost identical sign in our local park.
For the pigeons, yes. This is a person. Poor woman. I hope she hasn't read this. What is over here? Who was in the bed next to her? Ah, this looks like the treatment notes for whoever's occupying this bed. Let's see. Do not permit to run around the hospital.
The patient doesn't seem to be here at the moment, so...
He or she is probably running around the hospital then.
Oh dear, how worrying.
What's worrying is why they haven't discharged the patient yet. Well, I would like a little more background on that. Would be nice, but I can't check that. I can check the cabinet, but why did whatever, check it. I don't care. There are all sorts of medicines in this cabinet. Look, I'm not sure if it's safe leaving them in reach of everyone like this.
Yes, you're right. I can imagine if you were peckish, you might try a whole bottle or two.
Well, at least there seems to be a little lock to secure the cabinet doors.
I don't imagine that would stop you if you were hungry. I worry that you'd break the lock.
Hunger doesn't turn me into a criminal, you know, Miss Susato. Alright, let's check the fatty. Good morning. Hello, I'm, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, from the Empire of Japan.
Oh no! Was it your knife that... Are you the man who...
No, I'm a lawyer.
And I'm Susato Mikotoba. Pleased to meet you.
Oh no! What, was it your knife then? Are you the one?
No. I assure you, I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant. We heard that you'd regained consciousness and wanted to come give you our best wishes.
Best wishes? For me? Thank you. I'm Olive Green. I'm an artist. Well, no, that's not right, is it? What I mean is I'm trying to be an artist. Well, what I really mean is desperately want to be an artist. But the truth is, I don't have any talent. I know I don't. It's no wonder I was stabbed in the back.
I don't think that's related, actually.
Gosh, this young woman seems to bend over backwards to put herself down.
Seeing as we're here, we should ask her about what happened from her perspective, I suppose. About the incident. To suddenly be struck in the back by a blade as you were walking along the pavement. What a terrible experience you had, Miss Green.
It was so cold that day, and the fog was so thick, I couldn't see a thing. That was 4 days ago now, I think. Is that right? Is it? Is it right? No one talks to me. They don't even feed me.
Yes, that's right. I'm afraid you've been comatose all that time.
But the case has been solved, hasn't it? Well, I've been here in the hospital, I mean.
Indeed it has, my dear madam. Spectacularly, by none other than I, Herlock Sholmes.
Mr. Sholmes, as you well know, it was Mr. Naruhodo's hard work in court that solved the case.
Are you yet to hear what happened, Miss Green?
Yes, I'm afraid so. A gentleman from the police force is supposed to be coming to fill me in shortly.
Oh, I see.
Me coming round seems to have made everyone frantically busy. I'm so sorry. I should never have regained consciousness. I was selfish of me.
It was selfish of me. Whoops.
Oh no, we're also relieved that you're on the mend, Miss Green. Really, we are.
With that kind of attitude, maybe her surname should be Blue, not Green. You know what I'm saying, guys? Ho ho ho! Well, how about you? So, you're an artist, are you, Miss Green?
Oh no, I couldn't possibly claim that. I'm a fledgling artist at best. I mean, I'm a student of art, really, at the Thorndyke Academy of Fine Arts.
Oh my, an Academy of Fine Arts? Great Britain is such a wonderful country.
Tell me, Miss Green, do you live hereabouts?
Oh no, actually. I don't deserve it, but I have a little flat on Brixton Road.
I see. How very interesting.
Oh no, is it?
Brixton is some 10 stops away on the Underground from here, and Thorndyke Academy is a mere 3-minute walk from Brixton Town Centre. Does that matter, Mr. Sholmes? Perhaps not, but Briar Road is a far less salubrious part of town by comparison, dwelt in by those of inferior means, including the maleficent Mr. Mustache. Inferior means, I suppose Soseki-san does fit the bill. It struck me as somewhat out of the ordinary for a young fine arts student to be walking in such a district. That's all. What's this? She suddenly clammed up.
Mr. Sholmes, you should be ashamed of yourself prying into a young maiden's private affairs.
Oh dear me, do forgive me.
If you don't mind. I'm being discharged shortly, so I need to pack up my things.
Oh, yes, of course. We won't keep you. Thank you so much, Miss Green. Is there a Mr. Narrowfodder here? Mr. Narrowfodder. Narrowfodder now. Well, if you're looking for Naruhodo, the lawyer, that's me, but... Ah, Mr. Narrowfodder, good. This is for you. It's a message from Mr. Saucy Nutsmeg. I'm sorry, who? Mr. Saucy Nutsmeg? That is a very interesting name, Saucy Nutsmeg. So can I just call him Saucy? Oh, so Seki Natsume. Got it. I'd rather call him Saucy. Can I please just stick with Saucy? I really just want to stick with Saucy. Mr. Natsume sent a message to me?
But why would a policeman be delivering a message from Mr. Natsume?
Exactly. What's going on? What's a Scotland Yard constable doing playing delivery boy at this time in the morning? Oh, what are you waiting for? Let me see that. Oh. Well, this is most unexpected. Something wrong, Mr. Sholmes? Is something wrong, Mr. Sholmes, he says. Have you not seen this note? No, how could I have? You took it from me as soon as I got it, you asshole. It would seem that London's criminals have no intention of letting the great detective rest. A new case calls. A case of murder, no less. We must depart at once.
Murder?
Wow, I got that voice wrong. Apologies. Whatever, doesn't matter. Call a cab. Time is of the essence. But the trouble is, we've yet to read Mr. Natsume's note. I was thinking we ought to... Hello. Cool. Awesome. Right in my ears. But it's okay. That's the sound of friends. Hey, Funky, how you doing, buddy? Welcome on in, sir. Let me get you a shout-out real quick. At the Funky. There we go. So how's your day been? How's your week? How is your everything? And how is Yakuza 4? You having fun with that one? I really probably should start playing Yakuza, but I don't know. There's just so many games on the list, but you know that pain. Did you have fun at least, though? That's the important question. But welcome in, Raiders. Welcome in. Thanks for dropping by. I'm pretty sure y'all know, most of you all know me, so I don't have to introduce myself too much, but in case anyone's curious, there you go. There's a little blurb. Yakuza 4 is good so far. Story getting intriguing for sure. Wow, I cannot read tonight. No wonder I'm doing so terribly on this. Intriguing faux show. Well, good. I'm glad the story is getting good for you, buddy. I love a game that has a good story and really pulls you into it. Kind of why I'm doing this tonight. I was going to take the night because work's just been stressful AF. But, I don't know. I was really curious to see where the hell they were going to go with this one. So, I'm doing this. But my voices are terrible. Terrible. So if you want to just see some bad voice acting, stick around. You may like it. Anyway, what was I saying? We've yet to read Mr. Natsume's note. I was thinking we ought to pay him a visit in his lodgings once we did. That will be entirely convenient.
Convenient? What do you mean?
It's all here in the note, my dear fellows. Sometimes this can keep your mind off work more so than just taking it easy. That's true. You are forced to... Well, it's a much more engaging distraction than just watching Netflix or something. I agree. But that's the beauty of the games, ain't it? It's also why I prefer horror games to actual horror movies or horror TV shows. Because in those, you just sit there and watch it, but like a horror game really draws you in, which reminds me, I have to go on tomorrow's stream and redeem her to play Madison, because she's not going to like that. I watched a YouTuber play Madison, and that game looked creepy as fuck. And it's going to scare the crap out of Morrow, that's for sure. What the fuck is Madison? I would think of Madison as like an indie developer's version of a full PT. Because you know how PT was just that one hallway over and over, but it had a lot of spooky shit going on? Madison is kind of like PT if they had fleshed it out. But I imagine the actual Silent Hills would have been a lot more in-depth and crazy, but Madison just kind of takes the hallway thing and expands on it. It's pretty. It looked actually pretty good for a horror game, which is why I want Morrow to play it and, you know, get scared. But yeah. I was debating on just doing a quick Sonic 3 and Knuckles run, because that's kind of been on my mind lately, but nope, we're gonna do a full British court thing. Hells yeah. Speaking of, Dead Space in December and Dead Space in January. Really? 2 Dead Spaces? I thought they were only remaking the one. Are you talking about the Callisto Protocol? It's from the people that made Dead Space, but it's obviously not Dead Space because they don't have the rights to it. And also, hey Tara, welcome in. Thanks for chatting. How you doing, buddy? Yes, that's what you were talking about? Okay, that's fair. I'm absolutely going to play the Callisto Protocol. I am excited for that one. But then again, I'm a huge Dead Space fan, so that seems obvious. Mario reactions should be gold with that one. I agree. In fact, I think they're going to be so gold that she might actually get too scared, turn it off, and refuse to finish. But even that, I think, would be sufficient enough so that we can get some good clips out of it. That's all I want to do, is get some good clips of Mario getting scared. Anyway, you said it's all in the note. The murder we must investigate took place at Mr. Mustache's lodgings. Wait, what?
I'll hail a fiacre at once.
The hell's a fiacre? And a handsome. That would be worth. Absolutely, it would be worth. Wonder how long? 30 minutes? 30 minutes for what? The game Madison? I think Madison would actually take like a couple hours. Oh, but you mean for Mario to get scared? Oh, it's gonna take way less than 30 minutes. We love Mario here. You know that. This community loves Mario, but she is a big scaredy cat. So if she lasts 30 minutes, I'll give her like props for that. BRB need food? Alright, Funky, enjoy your food. Well deserved, I'm sure, after a night of beating people up in Yakuza. So yeah. Anyway, still not sure what the hell. Like, if anyone knows what the hell a handsome is, or a fiacre, I'm just gonna type it in. Please let me know. Go ahead, because they sound very weird. But for now, let's just go check out the murder scene. It was only yesterday that Soseki-san was in court and we were dispelling doubts about his innocence. And now, the very next day, there's a murder at the man's own address? He may very well be the unluckiest man alive. You know, until Phoenix Wright comes along, but... Or so it seemed to us at the time, but we were soon to discover it was worse than we thought. Fiacre is carriage. Really? Okay. That makes sense, yeah. 21st, February, 7:18 a.m. Mr. Natsume's lodgings, ground floor. Oh my god. This guy This guy looks like an actor. What on earth?
Oh my, the gentleman is deceased without question. He's dead.
Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Mr. Natsume. Oh, why? Why is this happening? Why to me? I've only just got out of court yesterday. I was finally home after 2 days of misery. And then I wake up the next day to this. No early bird should catch a worm like this. Willful worm without wiggle. I see you're in high spirits again this morning, Mr. Mustache. Ah! Not the horrible Herlock Sholmes. Shoo, shove off, show yourself the door. I never invited you.
Mr. Sholmes came here with us. I'm quite sure he'll be able to help you, Mr. Natsume.
I am entirely at your disposal, Mr. Mustache. What can I do for you? Handsome is a light, two-wheeled, covered carriage with the driver's seat elevated behind. Interesting. So Fiacre is like a regular carriage, like a four-wheel horse-drawn. Handsome is a light two-wheeled, covered, with the driver's seat behind. I guess it was probably pulled by just one horse then, I assume. Anyway. But thank you for looking that up, Tara. I appreciate it, and I feel like I learned something today. Hold on, let me get this line real quick. Grrr. Anyway, it's always good to learn. Knowledge is power. Power is pizza. Pizza is money. Anyway, I'm hungry. Anyway. Oh, God. I forgot what voice I gave this guy, but I remember this guy. He's our detective in this game, but he's also a fishy detective because in the last case of the last game, you know, he tried to pull one over on us. What voice did I give him? Should I do like a mustachioed, kind of British? Here they are already, the busybodies. I don't know. I feel like I gave that same voice to Mikotoba, just without the British accent. I don't have a lot of voices, I'm going to be honest here, so if anyone has advice, I'm totally down to take it. But for now, this guy strikes me as mustachy British accent. Yeah, I'll go with it. Fuck it. If it changes, it changes. We'll see. Ah, Inspector Gregson. What a pleasant surprise.
Pleasant, is it? Gives me heartburn every time I see your face at a crime scene, Holmes.
Ha! I deduce, Inspector, that your heartburn is a result of your excessive consumption of fried food. Good morning, Inspector.
This is a crime scene. Don't you go touching anything.
Or good morning to you too, Sunshine. Alright, apparently we getting started already. Let's examine. Lots to look at here, so I want to check out this thing with the lock on it. What the fuck is that?
Oi, I said hands off. You're gonna mess up my crime scene.
Oh, no, I just wanted to look, that's all.
No chance. I know you're kind. You'll mess it up just by looking at it.
Someone's in a bad mood. There's certainly some bad air in here, isn't there? Alright, it sounds like I'd better talk to the inspector first and try to curry some favor. Man, curry sounds good too. Boy, I'm hungry. Alright, we'll talk to the inspector first. Sure, why not? So, Inspector, what was the victim's name? Who was he?
Mr. William Shakespeare. He was a lodger here. As you can probably tell, he was an actor. A bit of a dead loss, as it happens. Or just dead.
Mr. Shakespeare?
It was the landlord, old Mr. Geradeb, and the other lodger, Mr. Natsume, who found him. The fellow didn't rise at his usual hour, so Geradeb got worried and kicked the door down.
But doesn't Mr. Geradeb have a bad leg?
Oh, yeah, you're right there. It was that jittery Japanese hunchback over there who actually did the kicking.
Really? Soseki-san?
The victim was pretty hard up, it seems, even done some time inside for petty crimes. He had no money, no place to go, and no friends. His only acquaintances were the people in this house. Miserable life, and a miserable end to it.
So, what exactly is Mr. Natsume still doing? He's not involved in the investigation, so shouldn't you have sent him away from the crime scene?
Well, I'm not saying it's because the fellow looks odd or anything, or that he acts suspicious. But I thought it would be prudent to take a statement from the cohabiter.
You nearly said culprit there, didn't you?
Oh dear. Mr. Natsume appears to be under suspicion again.
It certainly seems that way. He does just come across as such an odd fellow, doesn't he?
Poor man. How unfortunate.
Anyway, I can't say much until the coroner gets here. But I don't think the fellow's been a goner that long. The body's still warm.
Even if the inspector would allow it, I don't think I could bring myself to touch a dead body. Did we curry favor? I don't know. Let's go talk to What's-His-Face. What a terrible thing to have happened.
It's only been 3 days since I was arrested for the incident on the pavement outside. And then, having finally regained my freedom, it starts happening all over again. Endless existence of excruciating experiences.
So the victim lived here on the ground floor, and your room is just one story up, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. In a way we were neighbors, I suppose.
So did you know the victim? Were you friends? Can you say something, you odd fellow? What's the matter with Soseki-san now? It was an innocent enough question, wasn't it? Why does he seem so shaken by it?
Well, I suppose he wasn't a complete stranger. But did he ever invite me to his room? No, never! On my honor, I swear it!
What an extreme reaction. You're probably wishing you never asked now, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo?
When we found him here, I felt wretched, which is why I sent word asking you to come. Through that inspector over there.
Oh, God, what the fuck are you doing up there now? Alright, Sholmes, I know you want attention. There you go. I hit the spacebar. What is it? Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? Ha! You need only observe to know it, my dear fellow. Investigating, naturally. There's nothing natural about that pose.
Mr. Sholmes, have you made some miraculous discovery?
Patience, my dear madam, patience. We've not been here in this room 5 minutes. So far, all I've managed to deduce is what actually happened.
My goodness! But isn't that everything we need to know, Mr. Sholmes?
Now that you propose the idea, I believe one could, indeed, see it that way. At the present time, I have managed to draw 2 incontrovertible conclusions. The first, that there was a physical struggle here last night in which the victim fought for his life.
Oh!
Ah!
Mr. Natsume, what's wrong? Is something that Mr. Sholmes said significant somehow?
No, don't mind me, forget I was here.
And my second conclusion is that there was a poison lingering in the air here last night that passed the victim's lips.
Nonsense!
Alright, Mr. Natsume, why are you reacting so extremely to Mr. Sholmes' deductions?
No, please, pretend I'm not here. Invisible, ineffable, inscrutable, insignificant.
Impossible to ignore.
You must tell us everything, Mr. Sholmes. Spare no detail.
But of course, let the theatrical tragedy before us be unraveled by my great deductions, presented for your pleasure in 2 acts. We've heard some truly astounding great deductions from Mr. Sholmes in the past. No doubt this will be no exception, but miracles will unfold before our eyes this time. So, my dear fellows, for your delight and wonder, let the curtain rise for Herlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular, Act 1. The Great Deduction. The game is afoot. Topic 1. Cause of death. Careful observation of the victim reveals to us the events that transpired in this disconsolate room last night. Foam at the mouth of the deceased clearly indicates the use of poison. Next to the victim, we notice a large dining plate which contains, you will observe, 1/2 of a sizable bar of soap. Meaningful, indubitably. Why is this soap set so purposefully upon the dish? Like the victim's Last Supper, in fact. Yes. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the fork reveals the answer. It appears that the young man's appetite was his undoing. Taking up arms in the form of his cutlery, the victim engaged in a deadly battle for his life. Yet the struggle against his hunger was in vain, for in the end, he couldn't resist devouring the slippery feast. But London's foul soap is besmirched by foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of the plate. The soap and the lather about the young man's mouth are too perfectly matched to ignore. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to excessive ingestion of foul soap. Though personally, I have a greater interest in the taste of foul candle wax, of course. Conclusion. Poisoning from soap ingestion. Topic 2. Suicide or murder. The cause of death identified, we proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the next question. Was this suicide or murder? Oops. audience will recall that death occurred during the victim's Last Supper. Did the man dine and die alone? This single teacup suggests the answer. To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. The careful criminal could have absconded with his own cup to cover his tracks. Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the broken lock. Though forced open now at the time of the incident, this door was locked. And the sole key was in the victim's pocket. In other words, when the victim consumed the poison, he must have been alone. Alone with his inferior soap, from whence wafted an inferior scent. And with that acrid aroma lingering in the air, the victim met his end in tragic solitude. We can take comfort only in the fact that his soul was cleansed on its way to the hereafter. Ha! Get it? 'Cause of the soap? Cleansed? Great. Conclusion. No possible perpetrator present. Thus concludes the final act of Herlock Sholmes' great deduction. Alright, what do we gotta fix? Let me just crack my knuckles. Crack, 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 crack. Naruhodo's got work to do. There's just one thing, Mr. Sholmes. You are disposed to identifying just one thing, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Pray, what concerns you? Well, no matter how hungry he was, do you really think the man would have eaten soap? It is quite apparent that this man had barely a penny to his name. It is a curious thing, but to one so destitute, soap can suddenly appear quite irresistibly appetizing.
How extraordinary!
In truth, I have tried a little soap myself in the past. You've eaten it, you mean? My dear fellow, it was some time ago now. My postulation was that it would cleanse my gut.
And did it?
As I writhed in agony on the floor and spilt the contents of my stomach, yes, I believe it did. The experience taught me a valuable lesson. Soap is quite poisonous. It has an unpleasant taste and leads to great discomfort. In summary, I cannot recommend it. Believe me, I wouldn't eat it even if you did.
There's something that troubles me as well, actually.
Oh, what's that?
It's Mr. Natsume.
Duh!
I couldn't help noticing him shuddering and quivering out of the corner of my eye. Almost as if Mr. Sholmes' deductions touched a nerve somehow.
No, nonsense. Well, that clenched teeth episode didn't last.
I think, judging by Mr. Natsume's reaction, the great detective's deductions may need some gentle corrections in order to reach the actual truth.
Yes, Mr. Sholmes' observations and deductions are sometimes a little too sharp. He has a tendency to hit the nail on the side of the head and drive it in at an obtuse angle. When he does that, it falls to us to straighten things out. Alright then, let's see what we can do.
Yes, we must pick out the keywords in Mr. Sholmes' quite brilliant deductions, and discreetly exchange them for something that makes a little more sense. If we can do that, I'm sure we'll arrive at what Mr. Sholmes meant to say in the first place.
In that case, are you ready for the second performance of the day? Once again, my dear fellows, for your continued delight and wonder, let the curtain rise for Herlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular, Act 1. Course correction! Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Alright, the cause of death. Let's try this again. Careful observation of the victim reveals to us the events that transpired in this disconsolate room last night. Foam at the mouth of the deceased clearly indicates the use of poison. Next to the victim, we notice a large dining plate, which contains, you will observe, one half of a sizable bar of soap. Meaningful, indubitably. Why is this soap set so purposely upon the dish? Like the victim's last supper, in fact, yes. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the fork reveals the answer. Well, you can't deny that a fork implies the man was eating something, or about to eat something.
Yes, that's true. If I were to decide to eat some soap, I should prefer to use a fork than to attempt it with chopsticks.
And of course, only half of the bar of soap is left on the plate.
But might there not be some other explanation? Something material that proves whether or not the man really ate some soap.
Alright. Evidence that he may or may not have eaten some soap. Wouldn't it be on the fork? Let's examine the fork. I suppose you'd eat soap with a fork, would you?
I don't think it's a question of which implement you'd use. You shouldn't eat soap, full stop.
But then why? Why does the man have a fork in his hand?
Oh dear. I understand your frustration, Mr. Naruhodo, but please don't take it out on me. The point is, if we decide the man used this fork to eat the soap, we wouldn't be changing Mr. Sholmes' deduction. So we really ought to consider some other clues.
Yeah, that's obvious. Oh. What do I spy down here? Look, there's more soap on the floor here. Mr. Shamspear must really have loved this stuff.
Let's not jump to conclusions, Mr. Naruhodo. Look closely at this soap. Do you see that it would fit together perfectly with the half bar on the table?
What the? How can that be?
I think they are two halves of the same bar that broke apart.
I see a hat. I can't click on the hat. Shoe, leg. Oh, I forgot I could turn stuff. Teacup. Would it be the... Oh, what's this over here? Can I click on that? No, I cannot click on that. He's got a bow on his shoe. No, not the fork. The shoe. Whatever. Should I just present the frickin'... This kind of proves he didn't eat the other half and he wasn't ready to eat this half. I don't know. Could it be that the man was... Of course, the fork reveals the answer. No, not really. I'm gonna just press on this a little bit. Hold on. You think he was drinking tea with his soap?
Cup's empty, so there's no way of knowing.
Ah, how about this for an idea? Perhaps the cup was full of water, and he was dissolving soap in it so he could gulp as much down as possible.
Please remember that he may not actually have been the soap lover that he's been made out to be.
Alright, yeah, it's just the frickin'... I guess it's... Ooh. Oh, I can't go any further. Okay. It's important to examine all angles, especially in this moment. But yeah, let's present this one. Other piece of soap. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the other piece of soap reveals the answer. It being the other half of the soap on the table... Oh, that's Sholmes. My bad. It being the other half of the soap on the table. In short, the victim was not eating soap at all. But it's obvious, really, for no depths of hunger could drive any man to attempt to eat soap. Even I, with my unquenchable thirst for practical knowledge, took only a single bite. But that begs the question of how the man was poisoned, because there's no sign of any food on the table. An excellent observation, Mr. Naruhodo, and one that furnishes us with the answers we seek. For London's foul soap is besmirched by foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of the plate. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it might be the teacup right there, but we're gonna go ahead and just kind of roll with it. Mr. Sholmes is still pushing the soap argument then.
Perhaps he's suggesting the man licked the soap rather than ate it.
If soap in London is that poisonous, I don't think I want to be washing my hands with it. There are no signs of any food in this room at all.
Of course, food isn't the only thing that passes people's lips, is it?
Let me guess. Is it tea? Oh wait, can I click on the stain? No, not the contents of I don't want the contents of the pot. I want this. Yes, a Western vessel for the serving of infusions of dried tea leaves.
It's a teacup, Mr. Naruhodo, as you well know. Stop putting on airs.
Yeah, stop being a bougie bitch, Naruhodo.
And it's empty. Just like my soul.
Ah, so we've established that the victim wasn't eating soap when he died. However, there's significant evidence to suggest that he was drinking tea.
My thoughts exactly, you idiot.
I'm gonna start throwing that in there. I'm gonna imply that she thinks he's a dumbass. Just because it's funny. But anyway, anything else I can click on? No. A fork, but no. Hat? No. Is it just the frickin' teacup? I can't check his pockets. Nothing on the floor, nothing on the thing. Alright, let's just present the teacup.
Take that!
I guess the first one is supposed to be easy, I forgot about that. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the teacup. Indeed, cups have been the vessel of choice for practicing poisoners over the centuries. And it would appear that this victim drank every last drop. There's no sign of food anywhere in the room. Which leads us to the immutable conclusion. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to the ingestion of poison contained in this teacup. I am so glad you did not stick to the soap, you idiot. Alright, suicide or murder. Let's get on it. The cause of death identified, we proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the next question. Was this suicide or murder? The audience will recall that death occurred during the victim's Last Supper. Did the man dine and die alone? This single teacup suggests the answer. Ah, the Western vessel for infused hot drinks again. It's already featured heavily in our deductions so far.
Yes, we can imagine that shortly before his death, Mr. Shamspeare was having a drink of tea. There would be nothing remarkable about that, but what troubles me
is Mr. Natsume's reaction when he heard Mr. Sholmes suggest it. There's more to this deduction than it seems.
We must closely examine the scene of the crime again for some more clues.
I'm giving her the wrong voice, but at this point, I'm not too bothered by it. Also, what the fuck? What the fuck is that? Also, this hat. What the fuck is that? Oh, hello. There's another one in his hand. The fuck? It's another Western vessel for it's a teacup! I love how she yells at him for that. It's a fucking teacup, you idiot! You've been in England for like a fucking year! You know it's a teacup!
And it too is empty.
Given that he's actually holding this one in his hand,
we can assume that this is the cup from which Mr. Shamspeare was actually drinking.
But if that's the case, this changes everything. Everything we've deduced up to now is turned on its head. I have a bad feeling about this. I almost don't want to say it.
Yes, I know exactly how you feel.
Alright. Well, is there anything else I can look at when I turn? No. Okay, well.
Take that!
Other teacup. Did the man dine and die alone? This other teacup suggests the answer. Yes, there were two teacups in this room all along. In other words, this is a strong indication that at the victim's Last Supper, there was a guest present. At the very least, we can say now with certainty that somebody else was here in this room last night, taking tea with the victim.
What are you talking about? Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable.
To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. In which case, what more can we deduce about this possible guest at the table? Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Do you mean to say you know who exactly was in this room at the time of the victim's death? Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the broken lock. I'm not sure I like where this deduction is going now.
I'm afraid it's too late to go back to the halcyon days of eating too much soap.
But the identity of the guest who was in here last night when the victim passed away is something I have a very bad feeling about.
Well, you can try to ignore your feelings, but we cannot ignore the truth, Mr. Naruhodo.
No, I suppose not. Time to look around again. Oh, I can... I thought those might have been his glasses. Pile of books. What are the books about? At first glance, it seems that the only things in this room are the makeshift stage and the costumes. I overlooked these 3 books initially.
I wonder what they are. Let's see. The titles read The Picture of Monsieur Lecoq, Canterbury Yearnings, and A Meal for Gaborio.
Wait, I'm sure I've heard those titles before.
It could just be an incredible coincidence, but they're the exact same 3 books that Mr. Natsume purchased the other day.
What? Yes, on the day of the unfortunate incident when Miss Green was stabbed, Soseki-san had just been to a bookshop and bought them, that's right.
And now those 3 titles are here in the room of the victim.
Yet Mr. Natsume claims never to have been here before. What does this mean, you think?
I really don't know what to make of it.
Pile of familiar books. What's this? Oh, it's just an empty bottle. Broken lock, crack in the wall. Oh, we'll just present the books.
Take that!
Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the pile of familiar books. Quite so. It is no mere coincidence that these 3 titles are here in this room. It's the link to the truth. Mr. Natsume, you purchased these books 4 days ago at a second-hand bookshop. That's just a coincidence. In that case, you will be able to bring the same 3 titles from your own room, will you not? This very moment. No, never. Non-negotiable. If you can't bring your own copies here, it proves that these 3 books are in fact yours. Having purchased the books 4 days ago and returned to your lodgings, you were arrested the very next day. So you could conceivably have brought the books here on that evening, but you never mentioned that. In other words, you could only have brought these 3 books here to the victim's room. Last night, having returned to your lodgings after the trial concluded at the Old Bailey. In short, there is only one possible conclusion. The victim died here in his room last night as a result of poisoning, and that same night the victim had a visitor. And that visitor was you, Mr. Soseki Natsume. Thus concludes the final act of Herlock Sholmes' Great Deduction. Well, that really don't look good for me. Deduction complete. Elementary. Hells yeah. Let's deduce more shit. Not again. Not again. Not again. Not again!
Well then, Mr. Natsume. It would appear you're gonna have to accompany me down to the yard again.
But wait! Hold your horses!
Yes?
Door, key, locked! Entry, exit, entirely impossible! He's so flustered he's being even stranger than normal.
What? You think that's an alibi? You could have just made a copy.
What?
You live in the same building, after all. You'd have had plenty of opportunity, I'm sure.
But... Misery me!
Sorry, sir. You'll get your chance to give your side of the story later.
The facts speak for themselves, Mr. Mustache. Oh, you horrible Herlock Sholmes! He really has found himself an arch rival now, hasn't he?
Come on now, no dilly-dallying. Outside, there's a carriage waiting.
Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. I never imagined I'd be in this position again, but... You have to help me, please, please. I'm innocent. Alright, I understand. We'll come to your cell later and talk about it. And one more thing. Oh, yes? My poor little kitty cat. Please give him his breakfast for me. And so, his evil curse still apparently unbroken, Soseki-san found himself once again the prime suspect in a case of murder. Thanks to the incriminating deduction of the great detective. My dear fellow, that honor belongs to you. Try to get out of the fucking... Just don't blame me because he's a suspect. Well, at least that means Inspector Gregson is no longer here. We can examine the crime scene in more detail now. Yes, that's right. Ah, and of course. What? Have you forgotten what the inspector mentioned before? It was the landlord, Mr. Garrideb, who discovered Mr. Shamspear. Ah, Mr. John Garrideb, yes. I expect we could find him in his sitting room on the top floor as usual. Right, we must remember to go and talk to him later then. But for now, we poke and prod where our nose don't belong. Let's go this way. Because there's like nothing over here except for the stage. So let's look at the stage. This is some sort of makeshift stage, I think, isn't it? Where does the audience sit, though, for the nightly Shakespeare performances? Actors aspiring to the great stage must practice their art, Mr. Naruhodo, with or without an audience. In fact, on a related note, perhaps you should set up a mock bench for the defense in your office. What? Then you could practice your art every single day. I'll think about it if you promise to don a beard and play the role of the judge. Well, if that would help you achieve your goal. This I have to see. Okay, cool. Stage is absolutely nothing. What else can we examine? I want to look at the box. The box looks interesting. And here we have another disproportionately large machine, and this looks like a meter of some kind. Ah, this is a gas meter, I think. It seems that in this district, residents pay for gas as they use it with coins. Ah, I see, yes. Now you've pointed it out. I can see that there's a slot just here that looks like it would take a coin. So you mean if you put a coin in here... That's right, that would buy you about 2 hours of gas for lights and heating. So if you were a poor person with no money, you'd have to sleep in the freezing cold? Yes, or if you were a scatterbrain with no change because you forgot to exchange your money at the bank. Thank goodness there's no meter in our office. Okay, so it's a gas meter with a lock on it. That makes sense, I guess. There's a lamp. What's a lamp do? This is a gas wall light, isn't it? It must be connected to a gas pipe in the wall. Gas lights, a gas stove. London really is a city of gas. Ha! Ha, fart jokes. Now that I think about it, Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb had an open fire on the top floor, didn't they? Oh yes, you're right. I don't recall seeing a gas stove up there. Well, I much prefer a real fire anyway. It's so much cozier. Just don't fall into it, you idiot. No view out of this place either? As we've seen from the outside, the window is completely bricked up. A vestige of the former window tax that Britons had to pay. What strange things they used to tax in Great Britain. Yeah, remember when they taxed tea on the colonies? Oh, that didn't end well. I mean, making people pay for the number of windows they had in a property, it's extraordinary. It's heartbreaking to think of the poor having to block up their windows just to avoid an unaffordable tax. Oh! What is it, Mr. Sato?
If you look closely, a number of the bricks are loose.
Oh, yeah, these three. More soap! Oh, yes, it looks as though an amateur has broken out a few of them. Just here. Was it Mr. Shamsphere who did it, I wonder? Being the lodger renting this room.
Ah, look at this, Mr. Naruhodo. On the outside, there's a little ledge. And there's something on it.
What, outside? Can we look out the ledge, please? Oh my god, I hit the wrong thing. Ah, whatever. Look at these extravagant, bright costumes. Somehow they look out of place in this room, with its grim, shady going on.
This one looks like a king's attire.
A king? I've always dreamt of being a king.
Oh, I think you'd be more suited to a feudal lord. A daimyo or such like.
With a chonage topknot. I mispronounced the fuck out of that, I'm sure. I apologize in advance. Every Japanese man wishes he had a... thing.
Oh, you'd look wonderful with one. And you already have the sword.
Can you imagine what would happen if I walked around the streets of London with a... thing and a sword? That's cool. I'm glad we checked that out. Check out the hull.
It's so cold outside. You can feel it through this gap.
It did snow all last night. It would be cold. But more importantly, what is it on the ledge out there? What are those snow-covered lumps?
It's more bars of soap.
Soap? What are bars of soap doing lined up on a ledge outside the window?
I have no idea. But the pair of them look rather charming like that.
Still, that's very strange, isn't it? Bars of soap lined up outside the window. I think perhaps we should take one. There are two, after all.
Oh dear, I suppose we could. Oh, what's this? Look here at this soap.
Ah!
Do you see? In the middle there? There's a patch that's a different color. It's sort of transparent, but...
Some sort of fancy design, I suppose. Only in Great Britain.
It looks like the Hinomaru flag of Japan, doesn't it? How wonderful. It's probably a very expensive brand.
Expensive? What's it doing in this ramshackle old room? The bar of soap has been entered into the court record. A cheap bar of soap that was discovered just outside Mr. Shamsphere's window. It's one of two that were found there. Alright, you know what that means. It's examination time. Oh, I got more stuff to look at. A receipt for some books that Mr. Natsume purchased at a second-hand bookshop. It was submitted as evidence in the trial the other day. Natsume, some 2 shillings, 200 receipt, picture, a meal, Canterbury. It's got a time and everything. Okay. This is the nearby street map. Natsume has submitted. Oh. Map of the lodgings again. Yeah, it was something about roads. We had to figure out how he got there. Bourbon books, your books. They thought this was the route he took. Killed, but we figured out it was this one, I believe. Anyway, not important right now, but we'll get back to that later. For now, let's look at the soap. So yeah, what is this?
This part is a different color. It's an exquisite design, isn't it?
Trust the British to turn a boring bar of soap into something special.
I quite like it. It reminds me of the Hinomaru design of the Japanese flag. I expect this is rather expensive soap.
That doesn't seem likely, given who it belongs to. Okay, I looked at the thing, and is there any other things? I don't see any other things on this soap. It is just soap. Got it. Supposedly expensive. Noted. Moving on. This shelf.
There's not much on these shelves, is there? Just this wine glass and bottle. And both of them are cracked.
Yes, not much use, are there? What's the matter?
Oh, I was just reminded of the Reaper, that's all.
Prosecutor Lord Van Zeeks?
Yes, he's so reckless with his wine glasses. I was thinking it's a waste and that he should donate some to the needy.
You can suggest it next time we meet. What is this thing down here? A shard of, like, something.
What's this?
Looks like part of an envelope, I think.
Yes, I think you may be right. Perhaps it was torn off when the letter was opened.
That's significant?
Well, it's a little out of place, perhaps. When you look around the room, there's no sign of a letter or the rest of the envelope, in fact, is there?
Oh, she's right.
And yet here we have the torn off end of an envelope. It just strikes me as unusual.
I agree. We better take this just in case. The torn off end of the envelope has been entered into the court record. A ripped piece of an envelope that was found in Mr. Shamspeare's room. The rest of the envelope could not be located. You know what that means. Back to the court record, examining the court record, blah, 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 court record. Wait. Whoever opened this envelope didn't bother with a letter opener or scissors, did they?
Yes, whoever opened it was clearly someone with an unrefined temperament. And judging from the angle of the rip here, the person in question must have been right-handed.
Mr. Sato, I think perhaps someone's been reading too much of The Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes.
You can never read too much of it, Mr. Naruhodo. Never! You can suck my dick!
Boy, Susato's really getting feisty. It's kind of my fault, though, I guess. I am giving her her voice. Alright. Doesn't look like much. Back to the examining. Whoops. Alright, I guess we'll start examining the body.
Ah, one of the teacups that Mr. Shamspeare and his guests drank from last night. But don't go drinking from them, Mr. Naruhodo. There's bitter poison inside.
I'm not planning on drinking any, don't worry. Anyway, the cups are both empty.
That's true. So, one was Mr. Shamspeare's, and the other must be the cup that Mr. Natsume was drinking from.
So Seki-san wasn't poisoned, of course. Perhaps we should take these so we can examine them in more detail later. The pair of teacups has been entered into the court record. The teacups used by Mr. Shamspeare and Mr. Natsume, the one with the green line around the rim was Mr. Natsume's. So yeah, blue line was Shamspeare, green line was Natsume. Got it. No, I'm not done. I had so much more to do. Apparently not, I guess. Looks like you're having a good snoop around, eh? Okay, here he is. Inspector Gregson, back so soon?
After I threw that little Japanese fella in the plate, I went and reported this to the investigation division. In 5 minutes' time, this place will be cordoned off by the yard.
Oh, I see. Well, you better be leaving then.
Poor Mr. Natsume must be feeling very low being back in a cell again so soon.
Oh my god. I'm sure we should probably go and...
What's wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? Gah!
Out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player. It struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. Now, how soundeth the next part?
It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
Indeed, oh happy day. Did he just die? Whoa. Walking Dead. Good thing he was able to live long enough to give us a line from the play instead of telling us who killed him.
The fellow isn't dead at all?
What was that nonsense he was saying, though?
I think... Yes, it was from William Shakespeare's Macbeth. A soliloquy from Act 5, Scene 5.
Shakespeare? So it was that the victim, Mr. William Shamspeare, came back to life. If the man had indeed been poisoned, it transpired that it hadn't killed him. He was taken by emergency carriage to a nearby hospital for treatment. And Inspector Gregson evicted us from the scene of the crime, whatever that now was. It's true, it looks like nobody died. Attempted murder is still a crime, though, unfortunately. You know. 21st February, Briar Road.
Whatever do you think will happen now?
Good question. What a strange situation for Mr. Natsume. Arrested for murder, but then the victim comes back to life?
I think perhaps the victim was never dead in the first place. It seems very likely that Mr. Shamspear did consume poison, as we deduced. But was it an accident, attempted suicide, or attempted murder? Until the truth can be established, I imagine the police will keep Mr. Natsume in custody.
I suppose so. Let's hope it doesn't come to anything more than a night in the cells. Oh, what's this? Some dude spying into the soaps. What's that man doing over there? Looks like he's trying to see into Soseki-san's lodgings.
Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo?
Excuse me, could we have a word? Ah! He just ran off.
I feel sure that I've seen that man somewhere before. Where was it?
I do too, but I don't remember. Call me curious, but this is the soap that's outside, right? With the exception of the top floor where Mr. and Mrs. Garrett live, all the windows are bricked up.
Yes, that's because of an old window tax that was charged on the number of windows a property had. In order to pay less tax, the poorer members of society filled in many of their windows.
But the tax has since been abolished, hasn't it? So the windows could all be opened up again, surely.
Unfortunately, it would appear that the residents of this district can't afford to pay to have the work done.
Yes, that is a sad state of affairs.
Especially for people like poor Mr. Natsume, who have to live all cooped up in a windowless room.
Suppose that's the price you pay for living in very cheap accommodation.
It all seems rather pointless when you put it like that.
Well, nothing about the soap, apparently. There's a snowman. Can I talk to the snowman? Why has somebody built this snowman on some sort of pedestal, do you think?
It's not a pedestal, Mr. Naruhodo. That's part of the snowman's body.
Really? But it already has a perfectly good body.
Well, it's true that British snowmen are usually made with 2 balls of snow. Perhaps this is a foreigner.
And now we're looking at him as if he's strange. Poor man. I know how he feels.
If anything, it's Japanese and British 2-ball snowmen that are the strange ones, isn't it? After all, real people do have 3 sections. Head, torso, and legs.
Do you ever think that perhaps you think about things too much? Ryunosuke, do you ever consider maybe you don't think about things enough? Huh? Huh? Has that ever struck you, Mr. Naruhodo? Anyway. I guess we'll just move. Yay, a new location. Whatever. I guess we'll go to the Garrett room and talk to them and see what's up. Get their point of view before we go back down to prison. Meet our boy Natsume. 21st February, the Garrett room. Oh man, I remember this place now. Here we are again, the eccentric landlord's eccentric top floor abode.
We're here because Mr. Garrett's the only one who discovered the incident this morning. Don't forget.
Not the only one, just the one. I forgot what voice I gave him. Like an old man voice with a British accent? They all have to be British. It's in England. That's the reason I'm enjoying this.
Yeah. You chaps, eh?
No.
You chaps, eh?
I'm gonna have to work on that one. Yes, good morning, sir.
Thank you for your cooperation in court yesterday.
There we go. It was quite a trial. As much for Mr. Garrett as anyone, really.
Came straight back here after all that business at the Bailey yesterday. Didn't expect to wake up to more bally nonsense this morning.
I wonder, if you wouldn't mind telling us exactly what happened, Mr. Garrett?
Yes, I suppose you'd like to know all about that dead loss of an actor chap in the ground floor room.
Those were exactly Inspector Gregson's words, weren't they? Alright, let's chat for a bit, buddy. This morning's incident. It must have been a real shock for you this morning. I hear that you discovered what had happened.
Oh, well, that hopeless actor chap rises at 5 o'clock sharp every morning without fail. But at 5:30 this morning, he still hadn't lit the gas. So I went down and knocked on his door, but no bally answer.
And that's when you broke into his room by kicking down the door?
Well, I called on that rum-looking Japanese chap to do the grunt work, of course.
Wasn't it a little premature to kick the door down? The man could have just overslept by half an hour.
That's very true, Mr. Naruhodo. If 30 minutes of oversleeping warranted such behavior, I'd have to kick your door down every morning.
Well, you know, better to be safe than sorry and all that.
Is it just me, or is he avoiding our gaze now all of a sudden?
Except that it was a sorry situation indeed that you found on the far side of the door.
Well, tell us about Mr. Shamspear. The victim's name is Mr. Shamspear, I believe. Is that right?
Yes, William Shamspear took the ground floor room 3 months ago now.
And how would you describe him?
In a word, destitute.
Destitute?
Well, let's face it, the only redeeming feature of that room is the cheap rent. Anyone wanting to live in a place like that is either broke or has a bally screw loose.
So hard to choose which category Soseki-san would fall into.
Mr. Naruhodo, that's a little rude.
Stop reading my mind.
He was doing research as well.
Research? Into what? Hey, Grandmaster, how you doing, dude? Welcome in. I hope you're having a good day, evening, afternoon, whatever you're having. I hope you're having a good one of it. This game is too snobby and richful, as one looks down from, in this game, by these two. Oh, you mean the Gyarados? A little bit, yeah. I mean, not to mention they cause What's-Her-Face to get stabbed. So, but yeah. I do like doing the old British voice, though. It's kind of fun.
Shakespeare, of course. Shakespeare. Read a few plays of the old bard myself, you know, Romeo and Hamlet and all that.
Good try, good try. You almost got it, dude. You almost got it.
Yes, William Shakespeare is England's most highly regarded classical playwright and author. He's known as Sao in Japanese, as you know, and many of his works have already been translated.
It seems incredible that Shakespeare was shortened to Sao, though. Someone was too heavy-handed there. There were a lot of costumes in the victim's room, actually, weren't there?
Of course, Mr. Natsume is a scholar of English literature as well. I imagine he and Mr. Shamspear would have had much in common.
Is Susato single? She's cute. She is technically single. But this game takes place in the past, and we already know that she hooks up with Ryunosuke here to have a child that eventually becomes Phoenix Wright in the future. So, single, yes. Maybe mingle with her sooner rather than later, because, well, I don't know. I guess you can get in there before she dates Ryunosuke, and then, you know, eventually you guys will break up, and then she hooks up the Ryunosuke and gives birth to lineage of rights. Or, I guess in this case, Naruhodo's. Shakespeare interpretation disagreement leads to shocking murder. Let's hope it's not that.
Mr. Naruhodo, really? How rude.
Let's go into more of yesterday's events, I guess. Have you ever played these games, Grandmaster? After Mr. Natsume's trial yesterday, you came straight back here, I believe, didn't you? Did you notice anything strange between then and this morning?
Well, now, it must have been about 6 in the evening by the time I got home. Snow was coming down rather heavily, as I remember, and it was completely dark already. That failed actor chap was out at the time.
Mr. Garrett noticed there was no light from his room or something, I suppose. Okay, first off, how would you notice that if you're outside? The windows are all bricked up. Second, why? Why would you notice that? He could have been sleeping.
couldn't summon the energy for anything much, so I just sat in front of the fire up here. It was after 8 before Shamspear got back. And the chat was up until past 1 in the morning, I'll have you know. Suppose he met his end sometime after that. I was asleep by then, so I'm rather in the dark there.
Well, thank you. That was very illuminating. Ha ha ha, pun. Is everything alright, Miss Usato?
Well, I was just thinking if it's a little strange, that's all. Mr. Garrideb, you were up here in your room all evening, if I've understood correctly?
Not a big fan of stairs, not with this blasted leg.
Then, how is it that you seem to know? The precise movements of your tenant on the ground floor, I mean.
Duh!
That's a very good point. I can't imagine that you could hear noises from the ground floor all the way up here. Does this old man like to spy on his tenants? Is that it?
I say, I know what you're thinking, and it's a bally outrage. I'm ex-military, don't you know? I don't go around spying on my tenants. Why would I?
First time right now seeing you play this at all, let alone knowing this game's existence. Fair enough, Grandmaster. These are less popular versions of Phoenix Wright games, but I'm a big Phoenix Wright fan, personally, so I wanted to play them. But I had to wait until they translated them and then released them, so finally getting around to it. Still waiting for them to release the next one in the main series. I do miss actual Phoenix Wright. But anyway,
Then how did you know, Mr. Garrideb?
It's the gas woman. The gas tells me everything.
the gas? Please tell me how your flatulence speaks to you psychically. I'm interested to hear this. What on earth do you mean, sir? How can the gas tell you anything, let alone everything?
Well, as you're probably aware, the gas is supplied to the building by pipes.
Yes, I'd more or less worked that out.
Every room in the building is connected by a single pipe to the gas main outside. And the gas company supplies gas to the properties via the main.
Yes, I understand that, too. Were you a fan of, the older Phoenix Wrights? Grandmaster? I hope this game has booze. It's... I can't actually think of any references in this game or the one before it to booze. It's mostly tea references, but then again, ancient England, tea everywhere, so that's not that surprising, honestly.
Let me see if I can explain. Let's say I was to light the gas lamps up here. What do you suppose would happen?
Well, obviously the room would get brighter.
Exactly, but at the same time, the lights in all the other rooms of the house would dim for a moment.
What? They dim? Why?
Perhaps it's because when you light a gas lamp, it briefly uses more gas than usual. That reduces the amount of gas in the pipe for the other lamps that are connected to it. That might explain why the other lamps dim momentarily, mightn't it?
Yes, of course, because everything's connected to a single supply pipe.
Is that supposed to happen, though? It sounds rather undesirable.
Jolly good point. Fact is, the gas company's pipes in these parts are pretty hopeless, long worn out.
I'm more into action-adventure and sandbox exploring games more. Alright, fair enough. Well, I did tell Mono that I need to wrap up my Fallout 4 playthrough at some point, so that might be more up your alley. But I hadn't played a Phoenix Wright game in almost a year, so I was like, you know what? This is the last one I can play until there's no more till the next one, so I'm gonna get this done and out of the way. Besides, I really wanted to practice my stupid voices, so... And there's nothing wrong with practicing stupid voices.
And barely got any gas in them to start with. Opposite's also true, of course. Extinguish the lamps up here and they glow brighter in the rest of the house.
Ah, right, I see. So by watching the flickering of the lamps in one room, you can determine what's happening elsewhere.
You've got it.
Oh, of course, because when people come back home in the evening, before they go to sleep at night, they're guaranteed to do is either light or put out their lamps and fires.
Clever.
In point of fact, the room on the ground floor and the one above it use slightly different amounts of gas. By watching the lights in here closely, I can work out almost exactly what's going on in the whole house.
Gosh, that's fascinating, Mr. Garrett. Absolutely fascinating.
Oh, well, nothing to it, really.
I can't really see that it's going to help us with the case either. What I'd like to know is why Mr. Garrett is so interested in what his tenants are up to in the first place. I feel like there's more to it than idle curiosity. Well, we've done as much investigating here as we can, I think. Perhaps we ought to go to the prison and speak with Mr. Natsume again.
Good idea.
Alright, buddy. I'm letting you off the hook for now, but I'm gonna go talk to my pal. And you need to play Silent Hill 1 through 4, other horror games, and more. Yeah, it's been a while since I played a good horror game, I suppose. I've never touched the Silent Hills. Well, I don't know. Have I? I had an ex-girlfriend that really liked Silent Hill, and I think she made me play the first one or the second one. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've touched any of them, though. But I could try. I should probably make a list of just stuff people have requested and just start playing through those. I do have one that someone requested that I do play, but I haven't gotten around to it. Kenna Bridge of Spirits. I tried playing Immortals Phoenix Rising, but I don't know. I kind of lost interest in it halfway through. But yeah, definitely other horror games. Although, I don't know if I'm going to play many in the next couple weeks because in a month I'm going to do my 37-hour Resident Evil marathon. So I might save all my horror games for that crazy marathon, but we'll see. Anyway, 21st February, local prison, cell 9. I'm assuming those are your favorite genre of games, Grandmaster. It's just the horror ones. Callisto Protocol is going to be so fucking good. I'm so excited. That's a horror game I'm going to play day one. Anyway.
Look, Mr. Naruhodo. Mr. Natsume, have the police finished questioning you now?
Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
Oh, yes?
What is he? Tell me. Is he a ghost? Is he here to haunt me?
Let me guess. You're talking about Mr. Sholmes?
He actually calls himself a great detective, Mr. Natsume. Not a ghost.
But his diabolic deductions, they're not of this world. They've left me... Ah, cursed, I'm cursed, I tell you.
Well, that sort of hurts.
Credit where credit is due, Mr. Naruhodo. You were heavily involved in the deduction, too.
Yes, moving on. We have some wonderful news.
Oh?
The victim that we all thought was dead has come back to life again.
Now, in the absolutely worst case scenario, you could only be tried for attempted murder. You know, silver linings and all that. Just attempted murder, not actual murder. Just attempted. Well, there's also Sonic 06 and Rise of Lyric. Sonic 06 is one of your favorites as well? Because I've been tempted to do a Sonic stream, not of 06 though. I really want to replay Sonic 3 and Knuckles, just because, in my opinion, that's probably the best Sonic game ever. But I haven't played too many of the 3D Sonics, to be totally fair. I did play Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, which I thought was cool, but it didn't really hold up, in my opinion, to Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but that's just... I don't know what Rise of Lyric is, though. You might have to explain that one to me. That's great, isn't it, Mr. Natsume?
It's terrible!
Oh.
I'm stuck in the cell, suffering for some silly, wrong end of the stick. You did, didn't you? Confess you're a killer. Why the mustache?
Wait, why the mustache? That's I hope you answered that. Constant questions. I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, that selfish shyster! Make up your mind. Are you dead or alive? If you were going to come back to life, why bother dying? Wickedly wishy-washy William!
Well, it seems likely that Mr. Shamspear was never actually dead in the first place.
Ah, yes, that might make sense. And I'm pleased that he's alive, of course. Our lively debate last night was much fun. I'd be sad to think it was our last.
Oh,
Oops.
Mr. Natsume, does this mean that you did see the victim last night? You met with Mr. Sham... You met with... I can't even fucking talk. Da-da-da-da-da. Want to watch you play 06? Well, people call Rise of Lyric the worst Sonic game to exist. I thought that was Sonic and the Black Knight, but I'm only basing it off of what I've seen the Game Grumps play. Because, again, I haven't touched a lot of the 3D Sonics, but I could start a list, I guess, on my Discord of things people want to see. That's not a bad idea, actually. Like, I know in my, like, channel points there's a redemption for games. I think I made it kind of expensive right now because I'm still trying to work through the ones that were already redeemed. But maybe if I put a list on my Discord and people just, you know, add to it, I could take those into consideration when I play something new. Not completely terrible. I might do that. But why was Rise of Lyric the worst? When did that one even come out? I haven't heard of that at all. That you did see the victim, you met Mr. Shamspear.
I'm not saying another word. I demand to have a lawyer present.
Who do you think I am? I just protected you in court yesterday. I am your lawyer. Please, Mr. Natsume, we need to hear your side of the story.
Ugh, why am I cursed like this?
Alright. Talk to me. Talk to me, Mr. Japanese Edgar Allan Poe. Can you tell us exactly what happened last night then, Mr. Natsume?
There's nothing to tell. But, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, I'm eternally grateful to you for helping me with that accursed case yesterday.
Case that saw poor Miss Green hospitalized after she ended up with a knife in her back.
It's hard to believe that was only yesterday.
After the trial was over, I trudged my weary way back to my lowly lodgings. And that evening, at past 9 it must have been, I visited Mr. Shamspear.
So you did go to the victim's room then?
As we feared.
I didn't do anything wrong! I'd never been to his room before. It was the first time.
Then what made you decide to go?
I bumped into him when I arrived back at the house. We got chatting, and it developed into a discussion. But he had to go out, so I bade him farewell.
That ties in with I can't talk. Boom. Oh, yeah. Oh, can't talk. Boom. Oh, yeah. Can't talk. Anyway. November 11th, 2014. Really? Damn. It came and went, and I hadn't even heard of it. Fuck. That's not as old as I expected it to be, though. I expected maybe the worst Sonic game to be older and glitchier and, you know, less impressive graphically, although... I don't know. I think you get what I'm going for, though. You get what I'm trying to say. That ties in with what Mr. Garrideb said, that the victim went out and came back after 8.
We met again later that evening at around 9 or just after, when I took him some nice tea I'd brewed as a gift.
So it was you who brought the tea that had clearly been drunk at the scene, then?
And I suppose you were discussing the works of Shakespeare, were you?
Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. Romeo and Juliet. Who was the stronger? It was a delightful debate.
I'm sure.
Such a stimulating subject, Shakespeare!
And the debate became very heated, so you slipped poison into Mr. Shamspear's tea?
No, never, not at all. Team Juliet won, that was me, and when I left his room, the flamboyant fellow was fighting fit, I swear it categorically.
Alright, well tell me about your cursed existence, I guess, because despite all the questions I actually have about, the current what's going on, I guess Naruhodo just wants to know why you think you're cursed. I mean, why was the soap on the table? Great question I want to ask. Not one of these two options, so I guess just cursed existence. It was worst because the story was short, the fighting style was the same, and using the same enemies in every level, and still has glitches too. Well, most Sonic games have their glitches and downsides, but, we overlook them because it's Sonic. But, because the story was short, fighting style was the same, I can understand the frustrations with that then. Like, reusing the same enemies and the same, like, if it was just push X the entire game to fight, like, that's not fun. You gotta mix it up a bit. You gotta chain in some combos or something. But, yeah, I mean... Okay, I will make the channel. I will make the channel for you guys right here. Oh, the channel's there. Sorry, I'm reading through it. The last request was November of last year. I should make a pinned post that incorporates everything people have suggested, though. That one I can do after the stream. Hey, Mochi, how you doing? How's your afternoon going? How's your week? How is everything? Mochi, tell Star to bring in more chaos to this channel. Who's Star? Is Star someone I know? Am I Star? Oh, I'm Star. I'm even Star. That's what it is. Okay. I'm not used to people calling me Star. I'm assuming I'm Star. Usually it's Allie, Allegory, Hey You, Dumbass, Even Star. I'm used to Dumbass. That's the one I'm most used to. Mr. Natsume, you often say the same thing about yourself, I've noticed. That you have a cursed existence. I'm sure I've mentioned this to you before, but I've been here in Great Britain for a year now, and in that time I've learnt that it's no place for me. It can be very trying to live in a foreign land and adapt to the ways of another culture. There are foreigners everywhere I look, and they all stare at me, they all laugh. That's the impression I get whenever I go out. It makes me scared to leave my room. Which is why I've become a recluse. But even in my room, I find no respite from my fears. I've moved more times than I can remember, and then, 1 week ago, I moved into Briar Road. But why? I mean, why did you choose that place? It doesn't seem very comfortable. Hey, the worst. How you doing, buddy? Welcome in. Good to see you as well. How's your day been? How's your week been? How's your month been so far, even though we're only 3 days in? How is everything with my good friend the worst? And Mochi, you never told me how you were doing. I want to know. Although you did redeem a British accent for 5 minutes, so that one, that one's going to be hard to do with all the voices. But I suppose I can try. Although most of the people in this game are going to have British accents anyway, so you're going to get to hear that regardless. I don't know if you really want me to just give everyone a British accent right now, or if you would just want to wait for the parts where the actual British people come in, and you can hear it then. But I'll figure it out. You can always refund your own points too if you want. You're a mod. That's the cool part about it. I'll call you Allegor instead. You know what? I'm fine with that, actually. Allegor sounds great. It's close to Alligator, and it's close to Allegory, and it's close to Alley, and it's close to, well, any screen names I put in that have been just one letter too short. So I'm used to it. But anyway, yes, call me whatever you want. I would love to add some more chaos, but my chaos only really comes out when I'm engaged with someone who ignites it. Yeah. That's like when I play co-op games with Maro, that's when you can see some chaos. Because she's silly, and sometimes she'll blow me up in a co-op video game. Oh my god. That was funny, though. Good times. Anyway, Soseki. Because the rent is cheap. I have so little money. It spoke to me.
The rent?
Obviously, there's a reason why it's cheap. Because the room is cursed. Cursed? Cursed how? The previous occupant, the man who lived there before I took the room, died there.
Oh no.
He was only a young man, but one morning he was found dead and no one could explain why. Surely no one would want to live in a room with a history like that. I didn't. When the letting agent recommended the place, I wavered. But I want books, and books cost money. A horrible history is a small price to pay. When I realized it would mean I could buy more books, I signed the lease like lightning. Brave or blinkered? I started work today. I have a headache, though, so don't know how long I can stay. That's totally understandable. Congratulations on starting work. I hope it went well. I would ask you more about it, but if you're having a headache, I'll just kind of leave you to it. But, you know, again, congratulations. I hope your headache goes away soon, though. The worst says, I'm not good, but I refuse to ruin these vibes. It's okay, dude. I will give enough silly voices to make the vibes good again, if you want to share whatever's on your mind, or whatever's bothering you. We are here to chat and be friends, and friends care about the well-being of other friends, so you can lay it on me if you want. I was good. Okay. Well, I'm glad that before the headache you did well. It's exclamation point the worst, I think. I think that's what you're going for. But, there it is. There you go, the worst. Hopefully that helps you to feel less not good. I said that right? Less not good. Yes, perfect. That's what you meant. I thought so. It's okay. I got it. But yeah, share if you want to. I'm not going to press you, though. It's cool. Mochi, I am glad you was good. I'm glad the work was good. I hope you made some decent money today. Anyway, Brave or Blinkered? You just can't? Okay, that's fine. If you can't, you can't. Not gonna press you. I just hope that, you know, me or these other nice people in chat can uplift your spirits with some ridiculousness. I'm sorry, give me a break. No, you take your break. You earned it. Hard day at work, trust me. I know how that can take a toll on people. That's why I haven't been able to stream that often the past week or so. Besides being terribly busy after work some days, work itself has been horribly busy. So there's some days when I'll finish work, and I'll finish work like 2 to 3 hours later than I should because of all the work I have to do. And then after that, it's like a combination of too late and too mentally exhausted to jump on a stream, which sucks because I love this. I love you guys and all that stuff. If I vent too much comes out. Okay, that's fine. I mean, it's our chat room. We can put whatever we want into it, or the Discord, or like Mochi said, DMs. It's fine. We're just here if you need us. That's what I mean to say. We're here if you need us. 16 for 2 deliveries, so dope. And I assume the deliveries were probably relatively quick. All you gotta do is go pick it up and deliver. So, what, maybe 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes? $16 in 30 minutes doesn't sound too bad. But I don't know how long, I don't know. I don't know the specifics, but as long as you were good, that's all that matters. Forget my shortcomings? You have no shortcomings, you... Don't you dare beat yourself up the worst. You have no shortcomings. You have been nothing but a pleasure since I met you. So, take that. Take that and shove it up your... whatever you shove compliments up. I'm glad to hear your stream. Thank you. I wish I was broadcasting the video as well, because I keep talking to my camera and doing hand stuff because I'm trying to be more animated, but my CPAP machine has been causing freaking acne on my face, and it's driving me nuts, and I don't want you guys to have to look at that right now. So I put the finger guns up instead. You'll remember me as Blue Hair Finger Guns. Pow pow. Yep, 16 for 36 minutes. That's not bad. Yeah. I mean, do it for another 24. Well, so it's 16 for approximately half an hour. $32 an hour. That's not bad if you can get all the deliveries in. They're relatively close and all that. I am thinking way too much about this. I apologize. I'm just going on tangents after tangent after tangent. And I don't need to chase tangent down. Tangent just comes to me. So, you are the best. Yes, the worst. You are the best. I agree with Mochi there. In fact, we can do the exclamation point again if you need a reminder. The worst. There you go. See, there you go. Great command, Mochi. That was a good one. Anyway, but after I moved in, I soon came to realize what I'd done. I realized how horrible that room's history really was.
Gosh, was it really so awful?
Okay, well, I guess still other questions about the actual crime scene and what happened there, and like maybe the moment when the guy fell over dead. Oh, hello. Oh, wow. Whoops. Well, if that was an accident, I'm sorry. But if you gifted a sub to the worst on purpose, I really appreciate that. Thank you, Mochi. That means a lot. I hope that helps. It helps me. I hope it helps the worst too, because now he got his founder badge back, which is fun. It's always fun to have that badge. But thank you for the gift sub, Mochi. You are awesome. Maybe I should vent, but texting all of it would require too much. I'll DM y'all later. Yeah, absolutely. Discord is always open. I know I'm not the quickest replier, but usually in the mornings and the afternoons, I'll like check my phone to see if I'm getting messages and just start replying to stuff. But yeah, definitely hit us up if you need to get something off your chest, my man. For now, let's talk about this guy's horrible history. Or his room's horrible history, I guess.
How did the room's horrible history affect you, Mr. Natsume? What happened?
At first it was just a feeling. The feeling of beady eyes boring into my back, watching me.
Do you think that might just have been your mind playing tricks on you?
No. My mind doesn't know any tricks. It was someone else. It's been one long nightmare ever since I was given the keys to the place.
A nightmare? You've been having bad dreams, you mean?
All the souls who've died in that room will lean over me in my sleep and try to strangle me.
That really is horrible.
And now I come to think of it, it happened again last night too. The very same night that Mr. Shamspeare was writhing in agony from the poison in his body. I was on the verge of being suffocated silently by those miserable spirits in my room.
You simply must move out of that room as soon as possible.
Worst he can finger guns. Now he can finger guns. Yay. Mochi the sweetest. She is pretty cool. That's why we have this command, I think. Yep. We got all the commands ready for you guys. Also, finger guns for everyone. Finger guns! I love finger guns.
Yes, you're right, I know it, and that's why I'm already searching for the next room with a history to call home.
With history? Maybe find one that doesn't have history, you moron.
I think perhaps you should try to avoid a
Let's see. Okay, see? She's got it.
Try to avoid a combination with any kind of history at all. Otherwise, I'm scared that you yourself may become history.
Whew, Sato-san knows how to make the man listen.
Of course, Mr. Lord of the Manor is worried about the curse on my room as well.
You mean Mr. Garrideb?
Yes, he knows that if people keep dying there, he'll never be able to rent it out again.
Well, that's true. I, for one, wouldn't go near the place.
Ah! Perhaps That may explain why the landlord pays so much attention to the gas lamps and his tenants' movements.
You mean because he's worried about their well-being? He does seem to have an unusually keen interest in the amount of gas in the pipes. There must be a reason why he keeps such close tabs on the occupants of his let rooms. What do you mean he pays so much attention to the gas lamps?
Oh dear, no, it's nothing to do with you, Mr. Natsume. Please, forget I said anything.
Oh, now you're talking about me behind my back as well. What's important is that Mr. Shamsphere isn't in fact dead at all. Once he's come around and he's able to tell us what happened, we'll be able to get you released. Yes, please. Oh, I do hope you're right. Ahem. Excuse me. I don't like the question marks, because I don't know who it is, so I don't know what voice to give him. The voiceover brings joy to my soul. I'm glad I can help you with that, buddy. Oh, it's Gregson. Inspector Gregson.
I couldn't help but overhear what you just said.
Well, nope. That was a southern accent. I apologize. Let me try this again. I couldn't help overhearing what you just...
I couldn't help overhearing what you just said, and on that note,
There we go. That's better.
I have some good news and some bad news.
Oh!
Which do you want first?
Always, every time, the bad news comes first. When hope is all you have, hold on to it. That's my guiding principle. Your guiding principle puts you in jail twice in 5 days. Maybe not follow your principle no more, buddy.
Right, well, in that case, the good news, it is.
Huh?
Sorry, but it's just a lot easier to explain everything that way.
And why did you ask me my preference?
As you might have heard, the victim, Mr. Shamsphere, was just unconscious. He's come round now.
Yes, we saw it happen in all its terrifying glory.
He's still being treated by the doctors, but we've managed to get a written statement from him already.
Oh, isn't that wonderful, Mr. Natsume?
Oh, thank goodness, it's all over then. I can leave this somber cell.
Sorry, no, that's not on the cards.
What?
Why ever not, Inspector?
Mr. Shamsphere has implicated someone as being responsible for what happened last night.
Implicated someone?
Oh dear.
You don't mean...
I'm sorry to say I do, yes. He's pointed the finger at you, Mr. Natsume.
No! By sweet poison did he seek it to end my life. That wicked Skateliff. Ah, I fucking... what? Oh, that was Gregson. Wait, who said the first line? Oh, Gregson was... okay. I'm an idiot.
By sweet poison did he seek it to end my life. That wicked Skateliff, Soseki Natsume.
No!
I'm afraid you'll be appearing in court as planned. You'll be wanting to make the necessary preparations.
No! So, once again, Soseki-san found himself having to take the dock in the Old Bailey. Whether his room was haunted, or whether he was just terribly unlucky, I knew I had no choice. The following day, I would represent him in court, and do my utmost to break the curse that blighted him. Yes, there it is. To be continued. Yeah, let's save it. Let's go. GAA2 resolve. February 22nd, 9:23 a.m. The Old Bailey, defendant's antechamber. Usually there's a number that follows that, but I guess... oh, no, it's just the Old Bailey. There's only one defendant's antechamber, I guess. Makes sense. The Old Bailey. This place always makes me feel strange. I seem to get chills down my spine and break out in a nervous sweat all at the same time. Well, I didn't think I'd be back here so soon. That's my line. Again, I'm not sure who's saying that. Oh.
Good morning!
Ah, good morning, Mr. Natsume.
It was only 2 days ago that I was declared not guilty here.
Yes, we somehow managed to prove he didn't stab Miss Green in the back.
But now this! Another morning, another murder, and here I am again in this hellhole. Can't keep coming to court.
I'm beginning to think he's right. It really does seem as though he's cursed.
Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid I have bad news. Oh. Mr. Natsume, good morning.
Yes, morning.
So here we are again.
Yes, again.
Don't seem so happy about it, Susato. Jesus. Okay. Yeah. Tension in the air, palpable. I could cut it with a knife. What do you want to say? What was the bad news? There we go. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Judicial Assistant Miss Mikotova Esquires, what's the bad news?
Oh dear, you heard, did you?
If you come in shouting at the top of your voice, people can't help hearing what you say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Done nothing wrong, Miss Susato. Now, what is it? Spit it out, woman.
Well, it seems that the prosecution in today's trial will be led by Lord Barrack Van Zeeks.
Van Zeeks?
Oh no, oh no, no.
The so-called Reaper of the Bailey, the most legendary prosecutor in the land. In the trial 2 days ago, he pursued Soseki-san and I relentlessly. Of course, by the skin of our teeth. We managed to pull through, but still.
Perhaps Mr. Natsume's acquittal in the last trial wasn't the end of the matter, after all.
Yes, I know what you're thinking. The legend of the Reaper that says, nothing can save a person in the dock when Lord Van Zeeks is the prosecutor.
Oh no.
That even if that person is found not guilty, the accused will meet a mysterious end one way or another.
And we've experienced it firsthand. A man we successfully defended met the most terrifying end after his acquittal, right here in the Old Bailey.
Ah, do I have to put up with those ice-cold eyes boring into my soul again? Cursed by evil spirits and now by the Reaper. Pair of petrifying perils potentially.
Well, if it's potentially, at least you appear to have hope, Mr. Natsume.
Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Yes?
Yes?
I'm innocent. You have to believe me. You more than anyone now.
Don't worry. I'll be your steadfast ally every step of the way in this battle. I promise. And this promises to be a hard battle, I fear.
Well, the trial is scheduled to begin shortly. We should move into the courtroom.
Let's go.
Oh yes, I forgot to say. I'm afraid he won't be able to make it. Mr. Sholmes, I mean.
That's probably for the best.
Oh,
If he were here, I might be tempted to rely on his help. And that could be seen as a weakness. If Lord Van Zeeks were to notice, he'd prey on it mercilessly. At least, that's my gut feeling.
Mr. Naruhodo.
You're right. Yes, you're so right. Oh, well said, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Well said.
I swear on this sword at my side and on the spirit of Kazuma that it harbors. I'll show him what a Japanese lawyer can do. I'll set you free with honor.
Oh yes.
Alright. Alright, let's get back into it. Let's remember what voice I gave frickin' Lord Van Zeeks. I forgot about that one. 22nd February, 9:40 a.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. There we go. 6 more jurors.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed.
Alright. I forgot what voice I gave him. I think it was like a breathy British voice. The prosecution is ready. Something like that, I think. Because it's evil-ish. Kind of like fits his vibe of being broody dark guy, you know? But we'll continue, and if I need to change it, we can change it. The defense is ready, my lord. Readiness for the trial, my learned Nipponese friend, is not what the defense needs. What you need is readiness for your inevitable defeat. It's not just in my imagination. It's really there. Lord Van Zeeks has such an animosity towards us Japanese for some reason.
It was some time ago now that he first became known as the Reaper of the Bailey, I believe. These past few years, he hasn't appeared in court at all.
Yet now he's back in the courtroom, though for some reason, only when I'm defending. This Reaper, with his curious disdain for us Japanese, is a prosecutor shrouded in mystery. Good night, Mochi. I hope you feel better. I hope you have a good day tomorrow. Stay safe. Take care. I'll talk to you again later. Bye-bye. You'll try. That's all we can ask for. Just try your best. Still, this isn't the time to be pondering that. I have to concentrate on Soseki-san's trial.
Furthermore, I now call upon the 6 ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You have been chosen at random to represent the will of the people in this trial. Are you ready to fulfill your duty?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a feeling this Larkin wasn't innocent before.
I must say I feel especially ruthless on days when my hat refuses to sit right.
Oh, well, I rather like how you're wearing your hat. I think the ruthless look is very fetching, actually. I'm not going to remember any of these.
I need to be somewhere at 10 o'clock. I have a very important meeting. Let's make this quick.
I couldn't agree more. I need to take home 5 bob tonight or the missus will go through the roof. Oh, these are the same jurors.
Oh, may the Lord show us all the light here and lead his flock to the righteous verdict.
The British jury system is so very different to our own, isn't it? It's quite extraordinary to think that the power of judgment is in the hands of 6 members of the public. And that the judge can only pass sentence when all jurors are in agreement about the defendant's guilt.
I'm not going to remember these at all. 6 citizens of London, chosen at random. Or at least, that's the idea. The prosecution would draw attention to the fact that the accused was on trial here but 2 days ago. Accordingly, where possible, the same jurors have been asked to return for duty today.
Very well, let us commence the trial. Lord Van Zeeks, your opening statement, please.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it is not the intent of the prosecution to cast doubt over your past decision. However, the innocent verdict afforded to this eccentric Nipponese before has had dire consequences. Did the accused repent for his wrongdoing in that affair? Far from it. Instead, he used his freedom to perpetrate a most blood-curdling crime. Namely that of the attempted murder of his neighboring lodger, an innocent Englishman. To explain the circumstances of the crime, the prosecution calls its first witness to the stand. The detective responsible for investigating the scene, and the accused himself. 2 people, not the same person. That read like it was the same person. 2 different people. I don't know why they read it. I don't know why they said it like that. They could have put some more spacing in between those 2 and make it less confusing. But 2 different people. Witnesses, your names and occupations, please.
Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicide Division.
Soseki Natsume from the Empire of Japan. My government ordered me to come here as a student, study your language and culture.
Mr. Natsume.
Yes, my lord, sir.
I'm quite sure I'm not mistaken. That you swore an oath never to set foot in my courtroom again. I remember it as if it were yesterday.
The day before, in fact, my lord, but close enough. Believe me, this is the last place I want to be.
Inspector.
Let's hear from you first. Explain the case for the court.
Right you are, sir. The incident occurred at the Garrodeb household where the defendant has lodgings. In the ground floor room of the victim, Mr. William Shamspeare. The defendant has already admitted to visiting the victim on the night in question. Mr. Shamspeare collapsed in his room as a result of poisoning by the strychnine. He was found the following morning when the landlord, suspecting something was wrong, broke down the door. This means, I presume, that the door to the victim's room was locked at the time of the incident. Correct, my lord. It was locked from the inside, making entry to or exit from the room impossible. Although the victim, Mr. Shamspeare, lives to tell the tale. He very nearly didn't. The man was halfway to heaven when we first found him. I was the first officer on the scene, my lord. And I have a photographic print here that I took at the time to show how it looked.
Yeah, there is one big problem with this photographic print from ancient England, and it's that it's in color. Color pictures weren't a thing until, like, the late 90s, or not 90s, late 1900s. Anyway.
Yes, a chilling scene indeed. The man looks very much deceased. That's right. Everyone present believed that's exactly what he was. Very well, I shall accept this photographic print as evidence for the court.
The crime scene photograph has been entered. Anyway, let's... Okay. Nope. We're gonna look at this picture for... Oh, we also gotta look at the cups. I forgot about that. I forgot to look at the cups. Cups. Okay, there's nothing too odd about the cups, except that the one for Mr. Natsume doesn't have anything in it. The one for the victim did? This is weird. Okay. This must be the cup that Mr. Shamspeare was drinking from, then. It's stained on the inside. Tea does that, I'm afraid. Even green tea. Oh, really? I've never noticed before. You've never noticed? Well, I never leave it in the cup long enough to leave a mark. I like to gulp it down. Drink tea while it's hot. That's the Japanese way, isn't it? Oh dear, so many people seem to have the wrong idea about our culture. And most of them are Japanese. Okay. But this one has nothing. This is the teacup from which Mr. Natsume was drinking. Yes, unlike the other one, the inside of the cup is completely clean. I suppose he must have drunk the contents before the tea had a chance to leave a mark. I always gulp it down, too. Sorry, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, if you just sip it little by little, it goes cold. Clearly, I shall have to instruct you in the proper way to take tea. Alright, updated. Cool. Shamspeare Natsume, there's no tea ring on the inside of Mr. Natsume's cup. Not sure how that's relevant, but you know what? It might be, and that seems like the only thing that's odd about these cups. So, alright, we're good. We're good for now. Don't need to look at this. Let's look at this, though. Alright. Alright. So, weird things about this picture already is that the second half of the bar of soap, I don't see it on the floor, but it could be behind the leg, like right here, maybe. Anyway, no second chair, also kind of weird. These bricks here aren't the right way. Like, the small side of the brick was to us, and the long side was against the wall. That's... Anyway, bricks here, weird. Moving on. The stove meter, the gas meter, has a puddle under it. And I don't know what the fuck that's about, but something tells me we're going to figure that out later. So for now, we're going to leave it. Definitely sus, though. Super sus.
Now then, Mr. Natsume.
Yes.
As the defendant, do you have anything to say at this juncture?
They're haunted by evil spirits.
Good gracious, what's haunted?
Allegor. Every time this game keeps putting in logic to us in any way, a planet is born in every 6.54832 years in another galaxy beyond our understanding and time frame. I can't tell if that's a fun fact or if you're saying something about the bad logic in this game sometimes. Either way, if it's a fun fact, it's definitely fun, because that's fascinating. Then again, the universe is crazy big, so the chances of planets being born every 6.5 years seems likely. My lodgings! There's been a whole series of strange happenings in my lodgings. The tenant before me died in mysterious circumstances. A woman was stabbed by no one on the street outside. My neighbor was poisoned. And me! What about me? What about me? That was terrible. I apologize. I've nearly been killed countless times.
Killed, Mr. Natsume? How?
Even on that fateful night it happened, when I returned home from Mr. Shamspeare's room. I lit my gas stove and climbed into bed, but before long, the stove went out, and somebody tried to kill me.
You must always extinguish all fires before retiring for the night, Mr. Natsume.
But it's so cold, my runny nose would freeze. The point is, I didn't poison my neighbor. Oh, why am I being accused of this? Why is my existence so cursed?
Thank you, witnesses. I believe I have a reasonably clear picture of events.
If I could raise one more point, my lord. One more conclusive point.
Conclusive? Go on.
Fortunately, the victim, Mr. Shamspeare, has regained consciousness after his ordeal, and he has named the true culprit. The poison consumed by the victim was administered in a cup of tea that he drank on the night in question. Tea, my lord, that was brought to the victim's room by the accused.
The accused? Good grief! Order! Order!
Yes, that's the crux of this whole case. If Soseki-san is innocent, then why? Why has the victim accused him?
Well, Mr. Natsume, what have you to say to this accusation?
That evening, yes, I did take some freshly brewed tea with me when I visited Mr. Shamspeare's room as a gift. The public water pump outside always freezes at night, so I bought bottled water especially to make it. And this is the result. Never will I touch tea again, never! The public pump was frozen, you say? That's not information we've heard before.
That will do, thank you. Now, according to our laws, the defense must have the opportunity to cross-examine witnesses at least once. Therefore, I call upon these witnesses now for a formal testimony. I presume the prosecution has no objection?
None whatsoever, my lord.
Good, then you will give your account of events on the night in question to the court now.
Yes, my lord. Witness testimony. A catastrophic night. Let's go. It was around 9 o'clock that evening when I visited my neighbor, and I took some tea with me as a gift. We had a heated literary debate over a nice hot drink, after which I went back to my room at around 11. Ah, my tea was completely harmless. He couldn't have locked the door behind me otherwise, could he?
Strychnine takes some time to have an effect on the body. People don't keel over immediately after taking it. The victim would have been perfectly able to lock the door after his guests left. The argument still stands. Yes, I see. It all seems relatively straightforward.
Excuse me, but that testimony just raised one rather crucial point, I think. Mr. Natsume claims his tea to have been harmless. Presumably, though, the teacups have been examined for traces of the poison, haven't they?
Why didn't I think of that?
Well, as it happens, no. We haven't been able to. Did I hear you correctly, Inspector? Scotland Yard has failed to examine the suspect's substance?
How could you have overlooked something so important? Isn't that the first thing you should have done? My learned Nipponese friend is falsely incensed. The inspector said Scotland Yard was unable to examine the tea, not that it was overlooked. Unable? Why?
It's simple enough. There was none left. Not a drop. Someone must have been very thirsty indeed.
With current scientific techniques, it's not possible to test for poison under such circumstances.
We only need a drop, but that one drop does actually have to exist, funnily enough.
The lack of examination notwithstanding, it appears nothing other than the tea passed the victim's lips on the night in question.
I see, thank you. The matter is clear.
Cast your eyes over the jury, my learned friend. What? You can see it in their faces, I'm sure, the recognition of the accused's guilt. Your client's fate is all but sealed. In mere moments from now, you will lose, and your compatriot will be damned for all eternity. He's right. I can feel all 6 of the jurors looking daggers at me. I can't let them beat me down. I won't.
Counsel for the defense, proceed with your cross-examination.
Yes, my lord. Cross-examination, the catastrophic night. I should just start singing those. That'd be kind of fun. Alright, it was around 9 o'clock that evening when I visited my neighbor and I took some tea with me as a gift. Let's press him. Were you and your neighbor good friends then? Ah, no! We weren't friends! Not at all! Not at all! Never! Ever! Oh, short. Simple no would have sufficed. Then, why did you decide to pay him a visit? Mr. Shakespeare fancies himself as having great literary knowledge. As a fellow scholar of English literature, we find much to talk about together. Come now. Apologies. Come now, no Nipponese could understand the finer points of English literature. And on the night in question, that was the topic of conversation as well, I presume. It was the day of my last trial when I was acquitted. I'd just arrived back at my lodgings when I ran into Mr. Shakespeare outside on the street. That was around 6 o'clock. We exchanged 1 or 2 pleasantries, but it soon turned into a heated discussion. He was on his way out at the time, though. So I promised to visit his room that evening at 9 to continue our debate. But did I have ill intentions? No, not 1, not 2, not any. Not at all. Never, ever. That was really short, too. Fuck. He's getting really succinct at his poses. A simple no would have sufficed, I feel. Then tell the court what happened when you visited the victim's room. We had a heated literary debate over a nice hot drink, after which I went back to my room at around 11.
Hold it!
Hold it! Hold up. Wait a minute. Anyway. A literary debate about Shakespeare's works, I think you said, didn't you?
Shakespeare? Ah, very worthy topic of conversation, I must say.
Oh yes, my lord. Romeo and Juliet. Who was stronger? It was a profoundly pleasurable parley.
Romeo and Juliet?
Who was stronger? I know I'm going to regret asking this, but how did the debate go? Well, we both agreed that we would reach a conclusion more quickly with a reenactment. So we battled it out. In a Greco-Roman style, naturally. What? Mr. Shakespeare had all sorts of costumes in his room for such a contest. So, when you say a reenactment, you mean you were actually in costume? He is Romeo and I is Juliet, and after a vigorous wild tussle, I, as Juliet, came out on top. A victory I'll cherish forever.
I dare not imagine the terrible scene of carnage.
The fact remains that it was you who prepared the tea and took it to the victim, correct? I boiled the water in my room and made a pot to take with me. I'd heard that he was too poor to have tea himself, you see. It's true, there was no sign of any tea leaves in the man's room. I wanted to do something nice, to be friendly. So why is everyone looking at me with such suspicion? My tea was harmless, of course it was.
And do you have any basis for that statement, witness?
My tea was completely harmless. He couldn't have locked the door behind me otherwise, could he? Try it again. Press it. Press it some more. Yes, there was not a drop of tea left in the victim's room anywhere, was there?
That's correct. Anyone would think the fellow had never had a pot of tea before. He must have licked it dry. Which is a pity, because one drop is all we would have needed to analyze it for poison.
Can you say that you returned home to your room at 11 o'clock, Mr. Natsume? Yes, definitely. By heaven and earth, I swear it.
The landlord was able to verify that as it happens. He confirmed that the defendant went back to his room at 11 that night.
And how is the landlord able to attest to this?
He, said it was the lamps, I believe.
The lamps, Inspector? When tenants return to their rooms and start using gas, the lamps in other parts of the house flicker.
Yes, Mr. Garrett seems to pay a lot of attention to the comings and goings of his tenants.
There's only one key to Mr. Shamspeare's room, I know that for certain. So he must have locked the door himself from inside his room.
The victim has confirmed that to be the case, yes.
So I'm right, my tea was harmless, completely harmless. If you take poison, you die. Everyone knows that.
It's not that simple, I'm afraid.
What do you mean? Strychnine takes some time to have an effect on the body. People don't keel over immediately after taking it.
Hold it!
Hold it. How long does it take for symptoms to appear, then?
According to the coroner, I was speaking to at the yard about 30 minutes after the poison's consumed.
Then the victim suffers violent convulsions, cramping, and stiffness, and eventually dies from asphyxiation. So there's a 30-minute interval between when the poison was ingested and the onset of symptoms. There seem to be a lot of different types of poison in the world, that's for sure.
Oh dear, death by poisoning again? It's always so awful.
30 minutes is a long time. Certainly long enough for the victim to have locked the door behind the accused after he left. You can't deny that. And it further degrades Soseki-san's alibi.
I have the medical report from the doctor who examined the victim here, my lord. It spells it out, really. The accused is the only person who could have done it.
Very well. The court will add this report to the court record as evidence. The victim's medical report has been entered into the court record. Guess what I'm going to look at now? Court record. Medical report. Okay. Victim, William Shamspeare, 31, cause of coma. Ingestion of a small quantity of strychnine, toxic effects present 30 minutes after ingestion. High likelihood of the substance having been mixed with the tea the victim was drinking, but no sample could be obtained for testing. Investigative conclusions. The poisoning incident occurred at around 1:30 a.m. on 21st February, which implies at 1 o'clock is when he was poisoned. When did he say he went back to the room? At 11? On 21st February, assessed from the victim's pocket watch that appears to have broken when the man collapsed after the delayed onset of symptoms. No container for the poison was found at the scene. Okay.
Oh yes, I see it here. Delayed onset of symptoms.
Great.
Hold it!
Obviously, the time discrepancy is what I'm going to point out, but I want to press this one just to be safe. The argument still stands, you say?
This is what Mr. Natsume has been saying, isn't it? The pair of them drank tea together that night, so if there was poison in it, the victim wouldn't have been able to lock the door after the accused left later on.
Exactly. Me and my tea are innocent. Sweet and innocent, I tell you.
I'm afraid, sir, that doesn't follow. You see, strychnine is a slow-acting poison. In other words, it takes time for symptoms to appear. So you could have left the room up to 30 minutes. So you could have left the room up to 30 minutes after the victim drank the tea. And as long as you did that, Mr. Shamspeare could have locked the door after you'd gone.
But no! We drank the tea straight away. The battle over whether Romeo or Juliet was stronger, that came after the tea.
Do you have any evidence to support that statement?
In my great homeland, the Empire of Japan, we have a saying. Drink tea while it's hot. Sure, a proverb would satisfy the prosecution.
I'm afraid there's no conclusive proof to support the defendant's assertion. On the contrary, there are sufficient grounds to infer his guilt in this matter.
No. That's the extent of their testimony, is it? If I could voice a personal opinion, Mr. Naruhodo.
Of course, go ahead.
Mr. Natsume is arguing for his innocence so adamantly and so persistently, and Inspector Gregson just brushes what he says aside. It's really quite infuriating. I agree, so we need to find an inconsistency in what the inspector is saying, I think. I'm afraid so. As things stand, the jurors are sure to find Mr. Natsume guilty.
I see it. What we need to focus on is the poison and the tea.
Let's listen carefully to this testimony again.
Yes.
When I visited my neighbor and took some tea with me as a gift, we had heated about, for which I went back to my room at around 11. Alright, I'm gonna save it because, again, I'm a saving kind of bitch. I'm a bitch. A save bitch. Just in case I die. Back up, back up, back up. And we're going to present medical record, I think.
Objection!
Mr. Natsume, you say it was 11 p.m. when you left to return to your room, correct?
Yes!
And Inspector Gregson, can we rely on the information in the medical report unconditionally?
Of course we can. There's no problem with that report, Sunshine.
Actually, I think there's a very big problem. Because there's a chronological inconsistency between it and the defendant's testimony.
Chrono, what? What are you on about?
According to this report, the victim must have consumed the poison at around 1:30 in the morning. And yet, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, left the victim's room at 11. Yes, that's right. There's more than 2 hours of missing time there. In other words, if there was poison in the tea that Mr. Natsume brought to the victim's room, how could the victim have fallen ill to it 2.5 full hours before the defendant left? Ooh, ow, 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 ow. That's what it looked like they said, anyway. I'm translating loosely.
The defense's argument is entirely reasonable. How do you respond, Lord Van Zeeks?
Pray forgive the discourtesy if my mind has wandered. I was considering what cuisine would be best to complement the contents of my hallowed chalice this luncheon. How could it have happened, you ask? I do hate to shatter illusions, but my Nipponese friend appears to be chasing a phantom idea. A phantom? Is it so hard to imagine that the victim drank his tea after the accused had left? For example, at the time stated in the medical report. Yes, at around 1:30.
Objection!
Mr. Natsume brought the tea with him to drink together with his neighbor, and in Japan there is a well-known saying, "Drink tea while it's hot."
Objection!
And in my country there is an even more apt saying, "There is nothing more refreshing than cold tea." The point is, if there was such a long gap, there may be other ways to explain how the victim came to be poisoned, other possibilities.
What sort of possibilities, Counsel?
Well, For example, the man could have had another visitor. Another visitor. That's a very bold assertion, my learned friend, from someone who has nothing to substantiate it. Or the victim could have taken the poison of his own volition.
You suggest this may have been a suicide, Counsel?
Objection!
Mr. Shamspeare has categorically denied suicide. The idea can and must be discounted.
Objection!
Heh. I forgot there's sometimes he doesn't have that oomph in his death slapping, which is understandable and cool. Interesting. But he could be lying.
Is something wrong, Lord Van Zieks?
I was listening to the sound of the carriage pulling up outside the courtroom. Pray, forgive the discourtesy. Carriage? What carriage? It would seem that the key player in this case has just arrived. Out, Alf, brief candle, life's but a walking shadow. Oh dear, it's Shamspeare. What voice did I give him? Fuck, I forgot already. It's in the same episode. Damn it.
A poor player.
Nope.
A poor player that struts and frets his power upon the stage and then is heard no more.
I think that was it. I don't know. I think I'm close.
It is a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
Who, sir, are you?
William Shamspeare, my lord, alas 'twas I, undone by these bitter events. I am the victim.
What's he doing here? The prosecution seeks to call this gentleman to the stand. With his testimony, my learned friend's futile resistance will be utterly crushed. You're calling him as a witness?
Very well, Counsel. I grant your request with interest. I'm curious to discover what the court shall hear from the victim himself.
Happy am I, Shamspeare, to regale thee with my tale of woe, my lord.
But I still have my own tale to tell. My own tale of worse woe. I can regale the court with the tale of my perfect innocence in perfect English.
That will do, Mr. Natsume. Let the court now hear from the victim.
He's just jealous that Natsume beat him in a wrestling match. Oh my god. Alright, so that's Mr. Shamspeare. But who's that other man beside him?
Yes, I feel sure that we've caught a glimpse of that man before.
Yeah, he was trying to peek into the room. State your names and occupations for the court, please, witnesses.
A writer of words so sweet, they do scent the breeze, an inventor of ideas so profound, they compose the earth. The unrivaled poet, the unmatched scribe, William Shakespeare. Were the great bard to be recalled to life anew, lo, what a magnificent man! Good fellows, I am he who ponders such a miracle, William Shamspeare.
The name's Meterman. Adrian B. Meterman. I work for the Altamont Gas Company, East End Branch Office.
Ah, I remember now. It was yesterday, on Briar Road.
Oh, yes, she's right. It's him. Oh, what's this? Yep. What's that man doing over there? He looks like he's trying to see into Soseki-san's lodgings.
Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo?
Excuse me, could we have a word?
Ah,
And then he left. Is he trying to look through bricks? The hell? Yes, we spotted him outside Mr. Garrett's house that morning. And he's a gas company employee? What does he have to do with this case?
So, Mr. William Shamspeare, you are the victim in this miserable affair, correct?
Oh heaven, oh hell! Do you command me to remember? That sweet poison that didst crossed me and crossed mine innocent lips?
I subpoenaed him for the trial, with his doctor's permission, naturally. Hearing the testimony of the aggrieved will remove any room for doubt from the jurors' minds, I'm sure.
Behold, you have only to rearrange the letters of my name to see that me's a seraph, an angel indeed. Thus be I noble of mind, sweet of nature, and verily honest of heart, as all heavenly angels be.
Because there isn't a less contrived meaning in your name. No, not at all, Mr. Shamspeare.
The jurors seem to be very moved by this man, I'm afraid.
They're actually taking this seraph anagram idea seriously?
Thank you, witnesses, for your illuminating introductions.
But my lord, what's the man next to Mr. Shamspeare doing here? The gas man, I mean.
Ah, what, me? Well, now.
Allow me to enlighten my learned friend. You recall, I presume, your earlier impertinence? When you suggested that the victim had another visitor to his room on the night in question. And, moreover, that the victim is a compulsive liar. What? No, I didn't quite say that. This young chin-stroker is here to controvert your wild claims conclusively. Is that not so, Mr. Meterman?
Hang on, no. I'm just here. I hereby call for your formal testimonies. You will tell the court as lucidly as possible what happened on the night in question.
One may smile and be a villain. Yes, it doth pain me, but let the truth be spoken, the truth of that wintry night of my discontent.
Yeah, what the fuck is the meter man doing there anyway? Why? Why is the meter man there?
Witness testimony, the wintry night of my discontent. The snow lay about. My neighbour did cometh in the evening, bearing a gift of tea. But merry bitter was his drink, and when he left, I did fall prostrate on my table. 'Twas the tea alone did pass my lips that late hour, naught else.
I was outside this bloke's window in the freezing cold all night, keeping an eye on his room. No one else visited his room but that short little round-backed Eastern fella.
Yeah, okay, why was he outside all night? Wait, what did you say? You were keeping an eye on Mr. Shamspeare's room all night?
That's right, of course the bloke's window is all but blocked up, isn't it? But there's a little gap in the bricks where you can see another room. So I spent the night trying to keep my teeth from chattering as I peered in through that. The question is, sir, why? Well now, that's because he's on my list.
What a piece of work is a man! Wherefore wouldst thou not stare in wonderment?
What are you talking about?
This buzzing busybody hath not part in this play. I pray thee, pay him no heed. Make no more ado about his tedious words.
What'd you say about me?
Calm yourself. This court is concerned with what happened on the night in question. Nothing more.
Indeed, that is so.
And as the testimony we have just heard clearly reveals, there was no one other than the accused present at the time who could have carried out this crime. Whisper, 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 whisper. Whisper, okay.
Well, I believe this may be the final testimony of the trial. Now, counsel, the defense may proceed with the cross-examination.
Yes, my lord.
Cross-examination, the wintry night of my discontent.
The snow lay about, my neighbor did come in, blah, 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 blah. We're pressing.
Hold it!
Hold it, sir. To be clear, by neighbor, you are referring to the defendant, Mr. Natsume?
Oh, indeed, sire. Perchance wouldst thou I called him the man from upstairs?
But at what time did the mustachioed Nipponese visit you in your room? Our meeting was promised for the hour of 9, and lo did he come to tender a gift of fragrant tea.
Details which are in accordance with the defendant's own testimony, yes.
And we were broiled in such a literary debate as history hath not seen before. By which I presume he means their discussion about who was stronger, Romeo or Juliet. I, Shamspeare, did play the part of young Romeo, whilst my neighbour played the fair Juliet. Each of us dressed as would our characters be, to bring weight upon our merry experiment.
I dare not imagine the scene.
Frailty, thy name is woman. Canst thou imagine how dismayed I was? Yes, I had heard of the eastern art of jujitsu, but ne'er did I dream 'twould be a skill practiced by the comely maiden.
Juliet beat Romeo up. This is not helping our case. I believe the court has heard enough about your earth-shattering literary debate. Perhaps you could reiterate your statement about the tea that the accused brought to your room.
My liege, I am thy servant. Gladly I would do thy bidding.
But Mary bitter was his drink, and when he left I did fall prostrate on the table.
Hold it!
Let me stop you right there. Mr. Natsume left your room at 11 o'clock, but it wasn't until after 2 that the poison made you collapse. That amounts to more than 3 hours of missing time. Get your groove on, I guess. If the defendant had really put the poison into your tea, that 3-hour window of time is something you're going to have to explain.
Gladly, 'tis an easy task.
What?
I did drink the tea. I did drink of the tea, not while my guest didst tarry, but after he took leave of me. Faith, 'twas stone cold, but at 1 hour post midnight, verily were my lips parched.
Objection!
That doesn't sound normal.
Nay, 'tis quite ordinary, sire, after all. Thou wouldst recall our fiery debate. Amidst such argument, there'd be no time for fiery tea.
Romeo and Juliet again, and who was stronger? Mr. Shamspeare, in summary, allow me to confirm. Did you not come here with the intention of naming your attacker?
But of course, my liege. 'Twas the stooped lover of words did attempt to shovel me off this mortal coil.
Ugh, we all know what that means. 'Twas the tea alone that did pass my lips that late hour, not else. Yeah, what about the soap?
Hold it!
Why was there half-eaten soda on a plate? Why was there soap on a plate at all? Why couldn't I ask my client why there was soap on the plate? You'd think he would have been like, I don't remember that soap being on that plate. We had tea. We definitely didn't have no soap. Anyway, sorry. I'm getting off track here. So you didn't have any kind of evening meal? Dinner? Supper?
Ha! Fie on luxury, fie on gluttony. To eat thrice daily is but a waste of time.
Sorry?
I would that my belly were full, no more oft than the sun doth rise.
Well, most heroic eating habits, I must say.
Night and day do I fill my hours with learned study of the great bard and playwright. Hence it is that there doth not in my chamber be then the costumes of mine art.
That would appear to be the case, as even a rodent was found starved to death in your room.
Now that I think of it, it's not just food that was conspicuously missing from that room, is it? I don't recall seeing a single player script anywhere. For I have devoured them all.
You've eaten them.
Every word be within mine skull. Didst thou imagine otherwise?
Right. That wasn't misleading at all. Now, could you turn around, do you think? Which brings us to the conclusion that the only way the poison could have passed the victim's lips is in the tea.
I was outside the bloke's window in the freezing cold all night, keeping an eye on his room.
Hold it!
Yeah, what the fuck were you doing there? Anyway, but the windows of that house have all been filled in.
a historical artifact of the now defunct window tax.
Yeah, you're right there, all bricked up horribly. But as it happens, there's a little part of the brickwork at the bottom corner that's been opened up. I was looking in through that gap.
Yes, there were a few bricks loose, weren't there?
For some strange reason, a couple of bars of soap lined up on the ledge outside as well. I don't like going around poking my chin in other people's business, especially on freezing cold nights. And because of your freakishly large chin. Let's go ahead and be honest with that one. But we're going to go ahead and rewind that fact back and move on from there. But them's my orders, so that's what I'll keep doing, as long as there's breath in my body.
Whose orders?
What's with all the theatricals today? Out of interest, Mr. Meterman, after the accused had left and returned to his own lodgings, did you see the victim leave the room at all? Nah, he never left. He was in that room the whole time as far as I'm concerned. And we can therefore discount the possibility of suicide. How could you be sure of that? The police carried out a thorough investigation of the scene and found no receptacle for the poison. And since we know the victim didn't leave his room, and hence didn't dispose of the poison's container himself, it's clear that this was no attempted suicide. Only the culprit could have removed the receptacle.
Ah, yes. Lucidly explained, Counsel. Thank you.
Really was. You can't argue with the logic. No one else visited his room but that short little round-backed Eastern fella. You say a short little round-backed Eastern fella. So you can't be sure it was the defendant then?
Objection!
Oh, great. That's what I want. How many other short little round-backed Nipponese with a mustache do you think there are in London? Well, of course, it's only a narrow gap and it was quite dark, so I didn't notice the mustache. But he showed up at around 9, so I'm pretty sure of myself. When the person you saw arrived, did he and Mr. Shamspear drink tea together? Nah, sorry, I couldn't say. Why not? Because I couldn't see into the room all that well, could I? But what I did see was the silhouette of that little round-back fella wearing a pretty dress. Then the pair of them started some kind of wrestling match. I tell you, I didn't know what to make of it.
I suppose that was the Romeo and Juliet championship battle getting underway.
Mr. Meterman, allow me to confirm one final time. Apart from the accused, can you state with certainty that no one else visited the victim on the night in question? No question. Gasman's honor. Uh-oh. I forgot what voices I gave these people. I told you guys I wasn't going to remember this one because there's 6 voices just randomly you have to throw to people. My lord.
Goodness me. Yes, Mr. Foreman?
I've kept my... No. He's got a top hat. He should be fancy.
I've kept my mouth shut and listened up to now, but this has gone on long enough. Are you all with me?
Yes.
Are we to understand that you ladies and gentlemen of the jury are in agreement with one another? That you've reached a unanimous decision? I forgot what voice I literally just gave him a second ago. What the fuck is wrong with me?
Too right we have. Are you all with me?
Yes.
Wait, no. The defense is in the middle of a cross-examination.
To be honest, I was holding out a bit of hope for you, young man. Especially after you identified those few hours that followed the accused leaving the victim's room.
Boo boop be doop. Yes, the 3 missing hours as you put it.
But in the end, what difference do they make? None as far as I can see.
And since that's now apparent, there's really no reason to delay our decision any longer.
Like I was saying before, if I don't take Fire Bob home with me tonight, the missus will blow her top.
What's that? Sorry, I didn't quite catch what you said.
Very well, let the court be apprised of your decisions. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will state your leanings as to the defendant's culpability.
Guilty.
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 Guilty. Guilty.
All of you?
Well, it would appear that the jury is indeed unanimous.
So, this time at least it seems justice will be done. All's well that ends well, as they say. This calls for a toast, I feel. To the guilty being punished. Ugh. Ooh, wah! Ooh, wah, ah, ah, ah. Sorry, that's the proper lyric.
Get up, Mr. Naruhodo, please. The trial isn't over yet.
What do you mean, Mr. Sato?
What about the information I found in this Encyclopedia of British Law I have? That obscure right that belongs to the defense in these situations. Remember?
The one he used the day before? He did it literally yesterday. There he goes. Okay, he does remember. A summation examination. Yes, that's right. We don't have a jury in Japanese courts, of course. But here in a British court of law, if we can reverse the decisions of a majority of the jurors, we can force the trial to continue. This trial can't end now. Whatever it takes, I just can't let that happen. The defense moves to invoke its right to a summation examination, my lord. Why am I not surprised at my learned Nipponese friend's inability to admit a defeat? You chose to cling desperately to some archaic rule you barely comprehend instead of accepting the truth.
Certainly no other defense counselor in recent times has exercised the right to a summation examination.
Because they all know that once the jury's mind is set, it cannot be altered.
Nevertheless, the right remains and must be upheld. The defense counsel's request is granted. This court will proceed with a summation examination outlined in the Encyclopedia of British Law.
Thank you, my lord.
Are you and your fellows prepared, Mr. Foreman?
Believe me, my lord, we all know all about this young lad's tenacity. And we're ready for it.
Very well. In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hereby call upon each of you to state the grounds upon which you find the defendant guilty of the crime for which he stands accused.
All right. Cool. Judicial findings, the jurors' contentions. Ow, 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 ow. Sorry, I'm hurt. Ow. The victim may not be well off, but he's a noble man. Straight up, there's no reason to doubt the man. Oh.
Well, I do declare the good gentleman has no reason to lie. In fact, I think he's rather splendid.
Just look at the accused by comparison. He's Japanese, stoops all the while, and has a mustache. Very fishy.
There's no evidence to suggest the gangling actor is a fraudsman. For now, at least.
I really don't care, I just need this trial to end quickly.
3 out. Oh, no, my old man voice. Where did that go? 3. Nope. 3 hours. 3. Nope. Where did my voice go? Where did my old man voice go? 3 hours of missing time is... Nope. That sounds like... Oh, fuck. Where did my old man voice go? 3 hours of missing time is nothing when... I can't do it. I don't know where it went. It's nothing when you reach my age, you know? Nothing at all. I lost my voice for that guy. I'm kind of sad. I knew it. Every single one of them seems completely convinced.
It would seem that all the jurors have come to the conclusion that Mr. Shamspeare is a fine, upstanding, and honest citizen.
If you ask me, they've all been bewitched by his strange theatrical movements.
And sadly, nothing Mr. Natsumi has said appears to have registered at all.
Well, here goes. Let's not forget. A pleaded with the jury on Soseki-san's behalf before, and it works, so you never know.
Before we begin, it might be an idea for me to remind you exactly how a summation examination works, Mr. Naruto.
Oh,
Well, you're still very new to British law, after all.
that's true, I suppose, and Soseki-san's fate is entirely in my hands now, too, even though I've done summation examinations twice now. But we'll go ahead and pretend this is my first time. There's always a chance I might have forgotten some crucial detail. Perhaps I should hear Susato-san out. I wonder, should I let her talk me through it again, or not bother? I don't know, refresh. Why not? Couldn't hurt, I guess.
Alright, so if you remember, the key to changing the juror's mind is the things that they say themselves.
Yes, it's coming back to me. First, it's important to listen very carefully to each juror's statement. Then, if it sounds as though one of those statements might contradict another, I have to pit the corresponding two jurors against each other to prove one or the other of them wrong.
Yes, that's right. In many ways, it's very similar to a normal cross-examination.
Alright then, all that remains now is to do it.
Without further ado, please, counsel, proceed with the summation examination.
Bum. Bum bum. Yes, my lord. Jury examination.
The defense's rebuttal.
The victim may not be well off, but he's an old man straight up. There's no reason to doubt the man. Press that. Tell me more about what your thoughts are, juror number one. Well, there are plenty of people in London who seem noble, but poor. Couldn't some of them also be liars?
I've no doubt about it.
Like that shaky client of yours, for example. Absolutely not. Mr. Natsume is no liar. Look, the point is, the only thing that passed the victim's lips that night was that Japanese man's tea. When you take the gas man's testimony into account as well, the truth couldn't be any clearer. Well, that's alarmingly logical. Well, let me be frank here. I'm a gentleman with a gentleman's values. If it turns out that the old Shakespearean chum is a rotten liar after all, I'd gladly change my decision about the defendant. And I'm sure my fellow gentlemen on the jury would do the same, isn't that right? Well, yes, perhaps, though I don't see it happening. Dear, what's that? Elderly gent on the end here, you know? You'll have to speak up. Look, I really don't care about all this nonsense. I just need this trial to be over. How many gentlemen do we actually have on the jury, then? Alright, sir. I may hold you to that. Don't forget what you just said. Alright. Alright, if you can show me that the victim's a liar, I'll reconsider my position. Okie dokie. For now, you gotta talk to Betty Boop looking bitch here. Press her. Are you saying you believe the man to be trustworthy because he's rather splendid?
No, that's not what I said. The point is, the man is the victim here. What reason would he have to lie? Yes, he is rather splendid.
So you say, yet again.
Meanwhile, the man who stands accused behaves so suspiciously it's exhausting to look at him. I'm afraid he's not splendid at all.
Splendid logic there, madam. Thank you so much. Just look at the accused by page Japanese stops, blah, 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 blah. No, not one of those things is a reason to find the man guilty. But he is fishy. There's no point dancing around that fact. He's Japanese, he has a mustache, and he stoops. You see, you arrive at the conclusion in just 3 steps. 3 steps, like a waltz, in fact. You know, the more I think about it, the more this trial seems like a dance. You seem to be several steps ahead of yourself, though. And you're on the wrong foot. No, there's nothing but circumstantial evidence here. There's no actual proof of the defendant's guilt. But the victim's version of events is backed up by what the big Chanda man next to him says, isn't it? 1, he saw the Japanese man there. 2, he saw no one else. And 3, he saw the Japanese man there. Oh, that's another 3 steps. All this really does seem more like a waltz, doesn't it? Right, and the prosecution will waltz its way to victory if I let you speak much more. There's no evidence that's a gangland.
Hold it!
A fraudsman. What do you mean by that, madam?
It really is a most tiresome problem for the company, most irritating. We can be absolutely certain that a customer is stealing from us, but without hard evidence, we can't even threaten to take action for fear of being sued.
I'm sorry, you've lost me a little there. Who are you?
I'm the wife of Augustus Altamont, owner of the Altamont Gas Company.
Good gracious, Altamont Gas, you say?
Gas is the future of energy in this country and around the globe, but proper handling is essential. As I'm sure our employee from the East End branch office would be the first to agree.
Well, absolutely, Lady Quimby. Gotta be used to properly. Altamont Gas is the best in the world, of course.
I think we may have solved the mystery of the bow from
Bow? Of the bow from earlier, Mr. Naruhodo. Right. He bowed in deference to his employer's wife, did he? So would I be right in assuming the reason Mr. Meterman was watching what Mr. Shampspeare was up to in his room?
I'm afraid that there's no end to the lengths the population of the East End will go to in order to steal our gas. So I really have no choice when the company identifies somebody as a possible fraudsman. But to dispatch a worker to watch the suspect day and night, we're very thorough in our investigations.
So you mean Mr. Shampspeare is...
I wouldn't come out and say it in public, but you can finish that sentence with a grubby little gas thief.
You have noticed the public gallery in here, have you?
The eye of the man hath not heard, the ear of man hath not seen. Faith, wouldst thou wound me with thy words, were I to let them penetrate the skin. But seraphs hear not insults, only choirs of angels in song. We may not have evidence yet, but my workers won't stop buzzing around you until they find it. And when they do, you'll find yourself blasted back to your angelic heights in an Altamont gas explosion.
So Mr. Shampspeare has been stealing gas. I wonder, Juror number 4, if you wouldn't mind adding that information to your statement.
My pleasure. Was it the bit about ripping that thief apart you enjoyed?
A little before the part about the abject violence, if it's not too much trouble.
Yes, of course.
This could be it. This could shift the balance. The victim puts on a fine performance, but in reality, he's a common thief of my company's gas. Okay, we know what we're going to do with that. I think number 1 needs that, but let's keep going. I really don't care about the lot, whatever. You gotta go back, you gotta pick up with these 5 bobs. I don't know why your woman needs 5 bobs. You think she'd be happy with 1 guy, but she needs 5 guys. Maybe they're running a train. Maybe trains are invented in this day and age. Actually, I think they were. But not that kind of train. This is an 18+ stream. You keep talking about needing to take home some money. What's that all about, sir?
Finish last, that's what it's about.
What's that?
I'm talking about the Derby at Hyde Park on, it was the Queen's Cup last week, wasn't it?
A derby?
It was a dead cert, that's the thing. I couldn't lose, so I took my wife's secret savings line. But then, that hopeless old mayor went and did the unthinkable. Ah, that stupid finish last.
Oh dear. I think it's clear what happened, isn't it?
This is the day the missus uses her savings for a trip down the pub. So come on, let this business lie now. Just give it up.
No, that's not going to happen. Alright, I can't work with him apparently, but whatever. Let's press old boy here. What do you really mean by that, sir?
Well, I'm not one to boast, but I get up at 5 every morning. I do.
I'm not doing that right. God, where is my old man voice?
Oh, well, I'm not one to boast, but I get up at 5 every morning, I do.
At 5? You're a really early riser then, aren't you?
What's that now?
I said you're an early riser.
Oh, well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I like to while away the hours in the evening reading books as well. But by about 2 in the morning, I'm usually too tired to go on.
He sleeps at 2 in the morning and gets up at 5? Oh my, that means he only has 3 hours of sleep each night. What's that, dear? Only 3 hours of sleep each night. That's right, you see, 3 hours of missing time. Like I said, it's not much, is it? This really isn't helping. Key to summation examinations is identifying contradictions between jurors' statements, Mr. Naruhodo. Right, and once I found 2 jurors whose statements can't coexist, I need to pit those jurors against each other. Then hopefully, when they see that what they're saying doesn't make sense, they'll change their leaning. Yes, and if you're able to change the minds of a majority of the jurors, the trial will continue. But conversely, if you're unable to do that, the judge will declare the trial over and move to adjudication. And I can't let that happen. Somehow or other, I have to turn this trial around. Alright. Second. Liar. Alright. Alright. I want to try those two, but let me save real quick, because again, I'm just a scaredy cat that likes to save in case I lose. Because God knows we don't want to go through all of it again. Even though I'm enjoying it. Not saying I'm not. But it's a lot of reading. No one can say it's not. Pit and...
Objection.
Those two statements clearly contradict each other.
Good gracious, to whose statements do you refer, counsel?
Juror number 1.
What are you yelling about, lad?
I presume you've heard juror number 4's statement, made by the wife of the owner of Altamont Gas?
Well, yes.
The victim, who you claim to be a noble, straight-up man, in fact turns out to be a common thief.
So the good lady says, but there's no evidence, is there? You and I both heard them say as much.
It's true, we don't have the evidence as such just yet. But the claims aren't baseless, you know.
What?
You heard me. Seeing as this operation has already been compromised, I would suggest that the court hears testimony from our East End branch office employee over there.
I'll do whatever you say, my lady. Gasman's honor.
Juror number 1, you say you're a man of your word. If I could show that Mr. Shamsphere was a liar, you assured me that you would reconsider your decision about the defendant's guilt.
Yes, I did say that.
And as a man of honor, I'll hold to it, as I'm sure the other gentlemen of the jury will. Me? Whoa, well, yes. Now that we've found out the man's a liar, perhaps we ought to consider the matter further.
Well, if I'm perfectly honest, I haven't heard half of what you've all been saying. So if this means you'll recap a few points, that would suit me down to the ground.
Oh no, I'm not having any part of this. I want this trial over and done with.
In that case, I shall change my leaning. So, Mr. William Shamsphere, if that is your real name,
We of the jury demand to know exactly what kind of a man you really are. That's 4 jurors. 4 for not guilty.
Yes, Mr. Naruhodo! Victory!
Order, order! Well, this is quite the extraordinary, I must say. As a result of the defense's summation examination, the jury's leaning has changed. Now only 2 jurors say guilty, whilst 4 say not guilty. I therefore declare this court to be in a state of disaccord, and order the trial to continue.
You have spoilt the bouquet, Mr. Shamsphere. The ladies and gentlemen of the jury now find they are unable to trust you, the victim.
But you gods will give us some faults to make us men. So God amend me. I do swear. This gasman speaketh that which concerns him most, naught but gas, naught but thin air. Aye, it burneth bright a while, but it hath no substance, and it doth reek foul.
Oi, what did you say? Do I take it, Mr. Shamspear, that you denied the allegations of gas thievery?
Most heartily, my lord. Hast thou forgot? I am as a seraph, an angel. Noble of mind, sweet of nature, and verily, honest of heart.
Ah, you flowering mouth pompous beanpole, just 'cause I haven't got the evidence yet.
Mr. Shamspear, if, in fact, you are not noble of mind, sweet of nature, or honest of heart, if you are a liar, then your testimony should have no sway in this courtroom.
It is my considered opinion that at the present time, no other possible culprit of this crime has been identified. All testimony heard by the court thus far heavily implicates the defendant. In short, it would not be unreasonable at this stage for me to rule on the case.
Oh no.
However, in light of the fact that the jury has expressed concern about the fidelity of this witness, I believe it would be inappropriate for this court not to pursue the point further.
Objection!
I assure you, my lord, that would be a waste of the court's time. The gas and this case are unrelated. Juror number 4.
Yes?
Didn't you say before that although you had no hard evidence to prove this man has been stealing gas, you have strong grounds for suspecting him?
That's right, we do. Don't we, Waka?
Absolutely, Lady Quinby. Gasman's honor. Very well, then. We will hear your testimony now. You will tell the court precisely why you believe the victim, Mr. William Shamspear, has been stealing gas. Yes, my lord.
Fucked up on his voice. Well, I'm sorry. What? Hold on. What?
Yes, my lord. It'll be my pleasure. On the ultimate gas name, I swear.
If I may, my lord?
Go ahead, madam.
This worker's testimony may have a significant bearing on the good name of my husband's company. Therefore, I should like to take the stand alongside him in a supervisory role, if you wouldn't mind.
Wow, oh yeah, sweet as honey. Yeah. Very well. As an exception, I shall honor your request.
Thank you, my lord.
You wait till the boss gives you an earful. It's gonna sting, you mark my words.
We need you to bring back Doraemon. Who is Doraemon? Is that a voice I did? Doraemon. He is a male robotic earless cat that travels back in time from the 22nd century to aid a preteen boy named Nobita. So, how do I bring him back? I'm not sure what he's even from. I'm sorry. I mean, I love to bring a cat, male robotic cat. You know, a robot cat just sounds awesome in general, especially if it's from the 22nd century. Bring back the anime. You want me to bring back that anime? I will call my contacts in Japan and see what I can get done for you. Okay? Can't promise anything. I'll try. You made the anime back, that you made it back in 1979. 1969. So it's an anime about a cat that goes back in time that was made by me, Allegory, who also went back in time. I'm assuming that's the story so far. Hell, I could just make a story about me doing that, and then the anime will just be the spin-off. I don't know. That is an interesting concept, though. Why 1969, though? Why do I have to go back that far? You was born in 1969 and made it from manga to anime. I was born in 1969? Fuck. How old am I? I thought I was 33. If I was born in 69, that makes me 53. Am I 53? Are you telling me I'm 53 and I didn't know it? Because that would kind of explain how my body keeps feeling like it's ready to die. That was a dark joke. I apologize. Woo, that's funny.
So, you will both testify before the court on the subject of the illegal consumption of the Altamont Gas Company's fuel.
Yes. Is that clear, my good man?
Clear as Altamont gas, my lady, which is the clearest in the world.
Do you think the gas has gone to his head, Mr. Sato?
I think the man is just a very dedicated employee, Mr. Naruhodo.
No, it's the gas. Went to his head. Witness testimony. The Altamont Gas Company's investigation. By the way, thanks you for this 2-day stream. Which 2-day stream? Do you mean for the second episode of this? Or are you talking about the Resident Evil one I'm going to do? Because that one is something I'm looking forward to. Not going to lie. So we have a testimony coming up, but I don't want to dive too much into it because I do have to go to bed. Significantly past my bedtime. And I've been live for 3.5 hours, which seems like a decent amount of time. The one right now. Oh, Grandmaster. You know what? I was going to end the stream, but I think I'm just going to switch over to Twitch, and then I'll just start this from the beginning, and I'll leave it on for 2 days. How does that feel? Does that sound good to you? Can I do that? Because I still got to sleep and go to work, unfortunately. I don't want to. I don't want to leave. I do want to keep playing this, but I cannot play it for 2 days, unfortunately. How many people here? 4? Couple? Okay. That's enough to raid somebody, I think. So, let's raid someone. Who is up? Well, Drew Mink's around. We can go bother him. I raided Pat when we played Stray. I don't think I need to do that again. So yeah, I'll just raid Drew. That seems like a plan. That was me opening it. Let me just type in the button though. /raid Drew Mink. Perfect. I'll see you later then. Alright, cool. Understandable if you want to bounce. But thank you so much for coming out, Grandmaster, and thank you so much to everyone else. Special shout out and thanks to Funky for the raid. Love you, bud. Shout out to Mochi for the gift sub to the worst. Really appreciate it. I know. You just got a new job, so you're still trying to make up a savings. So, you know, the fact that you splurged for the worst is really sweet, and I appreciate it. And I'm sure he does too. And then, of course, shout outs to everyone who participated in chat. We got that guy. We'll play Sea of Thieves someday, don't worry. We got Funky, thank you. Tara, Grandmaster, Mochi, the worst. I think that's everyone. But to anyone that just was lurking as well, thank you so much. You guys are the best. Any support means the world to me. So that's all for now. I'm going to try to stream again Friday, I think. And maybe Sunday. But until then, make sure y'all take care of yourselves. Stay healthy. And I look forward to the next chance we get to just play and chat. So I will see you all later. Take care.